this. We can talk now, but as it rides out, I want to go into the thing. So this is how I start my episodes. Always a new artist, you know, or artist with some music or some shit. Hey.
Feeling like a god. Work hard.
Yeah. I chopped it up though, so like, it flows better.
Had to do it for the city.
So all the microphones are running.
Can't relax.
This is your mic. This is your
My
mic.
imagination crazy. Well, imagine me in a Bentley doing 95 in a 50. How you want it?
Hey.
How you want it? Young nigga doing big things, trying to make it since 16. How you want it? How you want it?
Hey. All right, welcome everybody. This is episode 1 of the Let's Talk Some Shit podcast. I have a special friend with me today. He is a travel blogger, travel influencer, a pussy connoisseur, and a Brazil fan now that the World Cup has started. Hey, give it up for my man Bruno one time.
What up?
How's it going, buddy?
Good, how are you?
All right, well, we got a lot to talk about today. This podcast is dedicated strictly to the travelers. My buddy's been to a few countries. We're gonna talk about all that right now. All right, so here we go. When did you start going into the traveling atmosphere?
I definitely think it all started when I studied abroad in 2013. It was my junior year of college, my second semester. I had planned first to go to Barcelona and study there, and fortunately, it got switched to Madrid, and I went straight from Brazil, doing a little visiting of the family there, and came back to the U.S. for like 3 days, and then went straight to Madrid, just new beginnings, and doing a semester abroad, learning about new cultures, and just being in a whole different space that I didn't know anything about. It was my first time in Europe, and
All right, so let's backtrack a little bit here first, so we can just set the scene. So where did you go to school?
St. Anselm College in New Hampshire.
Okay, and how many countries have you been to so far?
I'm not sure the numbers, but it's over 30.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Jesus, a little bit of jealous here. All right, so after being in school, what made you want to study abroad? I guess get out of New Hampshire.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good question. So a friend of mine, actually, Greg Davidson, he told me about his experience studying abroad, and it was in Barcelona. Just told me how he had like a rooftop apartment there, and he was able to travel other places when he was there. And just hearing that from him, hearing all the experiences, made me really, really want to travel really bad and be able to experience studying abroad, just living in a different country. And that summer before I went, I started to plan it out. I really, really wanted to go, and started looking it up. And
Specifically Spain?
yeah, definitely Spain. I really wanted to do Barcelona at first.
Did you look in any other places before you chose Spain for studying abroad?
I did, but I kind of had a set. I kind of had it set on Spain just because I knew some Spanish. I took Spanish already, so I really like just.
It's more comfortable for you.
Yeah, not only more comfortable, and just it kind of clicked with me. And I love soccer. But Spain is a huge soccer influence. I mean, the rest of Europe does as well, but I always wanted to see Barcelona, Real Madrid play. And I was playing soccer at the same time, and I knew I was going to be captain next year, so I had a little burden on me because I was supposed to stay for the spring season, but at the same time I know this was a once in a lifetime opportunity, so I really wanted to make it happen. And thanks to Greg, he really told me everything about about studying abroad and all his experiences in Spain and all the places that he had gone to from Barcelona, all the places he's traveled, and it really made me want to go. So, it made it happen.
What was the preparation in order to actually study abroad, and how long were you there studying abroad?
Well, it's different in every school, but with my school, you pretty much the same
Get closer
rate
to the mic, please.
the same rate that you're paying for tuition is what you pay to study abroad. Some schools do it separately. So I had to go see the financial advisor and all that stuff. The only thing that would be different is actually we pay the same fees for rooming and boarding, but
Room and board, you mean?
yeah, room and board. But you could stay with the host family, you could have your own apartment, or you could live in like a dorm style area. And that's the one. Like
That's through the school?
Yeah.
Studying abroad?
It's through
program?
It's through a study abroad program,
Okay.
which is called API. That's the one that I went through.
Do you know what does API stand for?
Academic Programs International.
Okay.
And I recommend them. People really nice. Shout out to Kike.
There you go. We'll tag him or her
Kike
later.
and Maria. They were my advisors over there through API. They're really, really cool. Really nice people. Still keep in touch with Kike. But so I ended up choosing to stay in an apartment. Just wanted to have like a full independent experience.
Is that apartment with people, or is it just...
Yeah, it was with 3 other kids that
Yeah.
I didn't know. One was from Connecticut, one was from Chicago, but he was going to school in South Carolina. Both named Zach. But I think if I could go back, I would probably do a host family, not only because the host family usually lets you... She usually cooks for you, and you have like 2 meals a day. Whereas if you're in an apartment and you're independent...
You're by yourself.
Yep, and you have to make all your food and just figure it out. But at the same time, it made me really grow and try to, figure things out on my own. Try to, experience different ways of making food and just go with the flow.
So what year did you go to Spain? So this is the start of the journey. The first country you went to besides Brazil? I mean, other than Canada, I mean.
Well, no, I mean, I had done some traveling before.
Well, like vacations and things like
Yeah,
that, but I'm
just
talking
like-
about like your own personal experience of getting
Yeah.
out there and doing stuff by yourself.
Yeah, it was Spain.
Okay. So what
So-
year is this? 2012?
Well, actually, right before Spain, me and my cousin drove to Uruguay.
Was it Uruguay? Yeah.
Lucas. Yeah, we drove all the way to Uruguay for New Year's. That's going into 2013, and that was
2013?
yeah, that was an
I thought you were in
experience.
Spain
on
in
our own.
2012.
No,
'cause I was in New
because I
York.
graduated in 2014, and it was the year before that.
Okay. All right, so Spain 2013.
Yep.
Okay. And while you're in Spain, you're taking classes.
Yep.
And what else are you doing to fulfill this journey, I guess?
Well,
Are you going to museums? Are you doing the touristy things?
so I took 4 classes there. One of them was art history, and the other 2 were, one was a computer class, one was a math class, and one was like a sort of a history class. And the art history class was one of my favorites because we got to go to museums at least once a week.
As part of the curriculum.
Yep.
Okay.
And we would go to different museums, and Madrid has a huge art, like it's like a big art capital. So there's a bunch of museums, contemporary and classical. So I got to really indulge in that and be able to just see different art, go to the museums for free, learn about them. It's something I really got into. And then the other classes were just classes that I needed to take that would fulfill
To get the credits.
fulfill credits back home. So,
Okay. So how long were you in Spain for?
For about
What
5
semester is
months.
Is this the
spring semester?
spring into summer?
Yep. So
All right, so you left when?
like mid-January up until beginning of May, but then I ended up staying for a little bit longer because my parents came to visit. So
Okay. And while you're in Spain, did you go out and explore other countries nearby?
yeah,
Alright.
so we had classes Monday through Thursday,
And the
which
whole
was-
weekend off?
Yep,
Perfect.
which was nice. So Friday,
Perfect for a college student.
yep. So most of the time Fridays, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure we had Fridays, Saturday, and Sundays off, and then Mondays my first class was at like in the afternoon around 2 or 3 p.m. So it worked out great because then we could find time to travel on the weekends, which just going to any kind of big city in Europe only takes like about 2 or 3 days to really get the whole feel for it. So we had, going through the study abroad program that I went through, we had a couple of trips inland that were included with it. So a trip down to or up to Valencia, and then different areas like near Madrid. We did a couple different cities. Segovia, I think, was one of them.
And this is all through the school.
Yeah, through the program.
Okay.
Yeah, through API, yeah. The school did, I actually went to Suffolk University, their campus in Madrid, the Suffolk in Boston. So they have a small campus in Madrid. So it was an English-speaking school. I decided to do that just because I wanted it to be more of an experience, so I wouldn't have to go to a Spanish-speaking school. It would actually take more time for me to, you know, it would be more investing time in school, and I wanted it to be more of an experience where I was indulging in the culture and not too worried about
Grades and academics.
and having to do
Your
stuff
grades
in
are fine
school.
anyways. Or
Yeah.
were fine, so.
Exactly. So and then the one trip that was included that was out of the country was to Rome. So we all went to Rome together as part of
The whole, the whole
program.
the whole program?
Yeah, so people from different schools as well. So we all went together to Rome. That was our international trip, and we had other trips like inland that we did.
Now, how does one, I guess, budget? Because were you working while you were in school abroad?
No. So, I mean,
So what was the preparation in order to, like, your sight is set on Spain? Did you have a budget or a goal to reach, as far as being comfortable in another country and not being able to work? So you had like some form of savings.
yeah. So yeah, definitely saved up. Probably close to around like $5,000 to bring, so I could be comfortable, have money for food, because the apartments were the only choice that didn't come with food. If you stayed in the dorms, they included 2 meals a day as well.
Yeah, but that's dog shit food probably.
Yeah, well,
School food.
it
You know how it
wasn't-
is.
It wasn't as bad.
Cheeseburgers, pizzas, French fries.
Yeah, but not in Spain though. Spain, it was different.
Rice,
I mean,
beans.
it was still, it still wasn't gourmet food. If you really wanted gourmet food, you'd stay with the host family, where the host parent or the host mom or dad would cook like authentic Spanish
It's
food.
Yeah, that would be
and
awesome.
good food. So that was nice, and I was able to actually go to a couple of different different friends' places sometimes, and be cherished with some good food. So, but because we didn't, we had an apartment. Me and a few other kids had their own apartments. We had to cook for ourselves, so which means all that money came out of our pockets. So, like I said, if I could go back, I think I would have done a host family. But at the same time, I don't regret it, just because it helped me grow and, you know, fend for myself and be put in a position where I have to learn how to cook food and learn how to do all those things by myself.
How easy was it learning to, I guess, travel, like within the city, as far as public transportation goes and getting to classes and just trying to get around in general?
Just we're fortunate enough to have technology on our side nowadays, and even 5 years ago, or 4 years ago when I went, I still had an iPhone where I could Google like maps everything, put everything on the map, and at some point, it became easy, and we had directions of what metro to get out of, and directions like that. But if you have a phone with you, you can just put everything on the map, and the GPS just leads you there. So, and a lot of people don't know how to use those things, but if you use them,
Like myself.
yeah, exactly. if you use them to your advantage, it makes traveling so much simpler. But I think just putting yourself in positions where you don't know the place, but you have to go there, every day or every other day. As I was going to school, you take different routes. At first, I was just taking the metro, and then I started just walking because it was almost the same amount of time, and you
Really?
get to walk around the city. Yeah, you time it out because you have to wait for the train, and if you don't get there in time, you have to wait like 6
Another
minutes for the
train.
next train.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to take 2 trains. You have to get out, and it was almost the same amount of time. So towards the last 2 months, I was just walking to class because
That's
most of
pretty
the
crazy.
time it's nice weather out, and you just get to walk around the city, see different points. So, and you learn that by trying it out. So,
What was your favorite museum or painting that you saw in Spain? Do you know? Off the top of your head?
I can't remember many of the paintings, but the museum would probably,
Or even artists. You give a shout out to an artist would be dope.
yeah,
Drawing blanks.
yeah. If
It's okay.
if this was like 4 years ago, I would know everything. The museum though is the Prado for sure. I really got into classical art. I didn't really understand much of the contemporary art. I didn't really like it. I like the classical stuff where
A red dot on a white canvas.
yeah.
Yeah.
We went to
It's beautiful.
The Hagia Sophia. I'm sorry, not the Hagia Sophia. I forget the name of the museum in Spain, but it's where the Guernica is. It's one of Picasso's most famous paintings. It's maybe
Heavily guarded.
it's like 10 meters long. It's
Jesus
the
Christ.
whole entire wall, and it's based off a bombing that happened in northern Spain. I think in like the 1920s or the 1930s, and it's a beautiful painting, and there's a lot of meaning into it. But still, I prefer the classical art more. So every time we'd go to the Prado Museum, when my parents went, I took them there as well, and it was just nice to see the classical art. Bunch of different artists. I can't name them off the top of my head. A lot of Spanish ones.
Yeah, no worries.
But it was fun to learn and just also, after going to the museums in Paris as well, and going like to the Louvre and stuff, and just learning about those different artists as well. It was something that I never thought I would enjoy going to and learning about, but after taking art history class, it changes your perspective on art for sure.
So this is 2013.
Yep.
Spain. What was because this was all study abroad.
Yeah.
So you've been to 30 countries, so I'm trying to get to like the biggest points, because you traveled by yourself for one of these journeys. Then you traveled with a partner, if you will, a girlfriend, a tag along.
Yeah,
So I want to
for a bit.
highlight the most important things, but I definitely think studying abroad is very important, because one, it's pretty much what projected you into doing this and trying to be a travel blogger and promoting your stuff. So we can cover as much of this as you want, but I also want to get as much as we can
Yeah.
too.
We started doing our own travel. The first place I went to without the group, we went to Amsterdam. It was me and my roommates.
And this is still in Spain.
Yeah, this is still
Okay.
studying abroad. So I did like 4 or 5 other countries as well besides Spain when I was there. So the first trip was just a weekend trip to Amsterdam.
Get the brownies in.
Yep. We all my roommates were big potheads, and I've never been into smoking weed. I've actually never smoked weed, but I wanted to go to Amsterdam just to check it out.
Just to try a brownie.
And we planned it. This was like, we were still booking flights kind of like inexperiencedly. Like we booked them on Expedia, and
Stop tapping your leg.
we just went with it. Booked a hotel. Didn't really stay in hostels back then. Didn't know, we kind of sketched out just about all the things that we heard about before. The stupid movie Hostel, which has nothing to do with
which
staying in
ruined everything
hostels.
for everybody.
Yeah, so ridiculous. Because if
The
if
odds
it's,
of that happening are so slim to none that it's preposterous.
Yeah, and if it's one thing that I recommend to people now is to always stay in hostels, just because you meet so many people who are doing the same thing, and it's just so much more of an experience.
Oh yeah, and you have no idea where they're from.
Yeah, so we didn't stay in hostels for that first trip, but we walked around a lot. We did. First thing we did is hit up a coffee shop. Both of my roommates smoked. I didn't smoke. Like I said, I've never smoked, but we did try. We all split a little cake.
Hey, Ash Brownie.
We all split a little cake and didn't do anything for us. So the next day, after we had gone out at night, we actually met a bunch of English girls that night too, which was fun. One of them was Brazilian, which
Bingo.
was it was funny because she was living in England, but she was from Brazil. But it was fun. And we ended up meeting up with them the next night. But before that night, we went to another Dutch bakery, another coffee
Dutch
shop.
Bakery.
And yeah, if anyone doesn't know what movie he's quoting, it's Euro Trip.
It's Euro Trip.
But then I was like, all right, I need to experience getting high. Like, I need to try it. So what I did was eat a full brownie to myself.
Always the smart move. When you've never smoked before, the best thing to do is consume a full brownie.
And in about half an
10
hour,
minutes.
40 minutes, I was just tripping. Like, I was so high. We had gone to the supermarket to get, some food and juice, and I just didn't know where I was. And we took the train back to the hotel, and my head was just spinning. I thought we were going 100 miles an hour, and then I ended up just putting my headphones on and falling asleep for 3 hours after that.
Put the headphones on, and the music sounded amazing.
Yeah. I listened to some Weekend, and the beats were just, I've never heard music so clearly in my life. So, and then
It's
fell
hilarious,
asleep
dude.
and woke back up, and that was my my first weed experience.
First and last. That's all you needed. You just got to try it one time. One and done.
Yeah, it was it had to be done. So that was the first trip, and then ended up meeting like I said, meeting those girls at night, and I ended up leaving with one of them back to their hotel. Nothing ever happened, just a little smooching. But I did end up almost getting lost and almost not making my flight back to Madrid. I ended up getting back to the hotel at 7 a.m. And this is my first trip pretty much out of state. I was out with people that I, didn't even know, left an area and had to figure out exactly where the train stop, or in Amsterdam, they're trams. So they're up in their street level. And I got there right in time. All my roommates were packed up and ready to go. I had to grab my shit quickly, and we had to ride back to the airport, and we just barely made the flight in time.
Jesus.
And that
How
was-
nervous were you?
Definitely a little bit nervous. Hadn't gotten no sleep, and that was my first experience outside, and it was just, something I still remember today. It was, I almost got lost. I could have stayed in Amsterdam, but made it, and that goes to show you, you put yourself in those situations, and you got to just
Fight or flight.
that's
it.
Just try to figure it out.
Find a way. All right, so that's the first trip, was Amsterdam. What was next after that? Because you said you hit 4 other countries.
Yeah, so
we can
after
briefly
that-
go over these things. If
After
you like.
that, we went to Paris. If you're in Europe, you've never been to Paris, it's something that you always want to do. Check out the Eiffel Tower, and the Louvre, and all the things that Paris has to offer.
Yeah, you sent me some photos from there, I believe.
Yeah. So
Those are pretty dope. Especially the one with the Eiffel Tower. That one was awesome.
yeah, first time seeing the Eiffel Tower was just amazing. Coming from a city in a small city in Brazil, no one really knows about down south, and just being able to be there was amazing to me. Seeing it light up every hour, usually in the nighttime, and it sparkles up. It was a very cool feeling. It was freezing cold, but it was an amazing experience.
Gotta love the cold.
Yep. Paris. There's plenty of stories from Paris as well. I mean, I could go on with the stories, but
Well, let's go. Give us one good one.
so it was the same crew that went to Amsterdam. Besides my friend Gustavo,
You had these the friends we're talking about. They're all from the program.
yeah. So these two were my roommates, Zach
roommates.
and Zach, and we were roommates in the apartment, so we each had our own room. So in the first couple times we traveled together, so it was me, him, my friend Matt, who's from Alabama. Shout out to Matt. We're still boys.
Is that New York City?
Yeah,
New York City now.
He's in New York now, big time lawyer.
Big time lawyer.
So he went as well, and Gustavo, my boy from Mexico, that was the first time we traveled together, so he went as well. So it was 5 of us guys in Paris. I think one of the first things I did was play that song by Kanye and Jay-Z when I touched down.
I can't say it, so go ahead. I can't say it.
It's the N-word in Paris. But it was great. So all in all, it was a great experience. It was freezing. We went to a couple of different areas, ate some good food. But one night I can remember is we went to we checked out the area where Moulin Rouge is, which if you don't know, it's like a burlesque show. Very very famous in.
I've been to a burlesque show. A few of them.
It's very very famous in Paris.
Paris.
So we walked down there. The line was huge for it, so we kept walking. And people always ask, "Hey, come into our show." And there was this one place we were like, "Oh, we should go to a strip club."
I think I know this.
So we decided to go into the strip club. This guy was giving us little tickets. We didn't know better, and he's like, you give this ticket to them inside. You pay 20 euros. You get a drink. You get a lap dance, and you're good to go. And we're like,
That's all I
okay,
need.
perfect.
That's all I need. $20.
So we go in. We have the ticket in our hand. We give it to the person. Pay $20 or 20 euros, and we go in there. And I think actually one of my roommates was not there. It was me, Gustavo, Matt. Yeah. Oh, so both of my American roommates weren't there. So it was me, Gustavo, and Matt that went, and we all got lap dances, and enjoying it. And then the girls come out with this menu, and they're like, "Oh, do you guys want to order a drink? And we're like, "No, I'm good." And she's like, "Oh, well, can you buy me a drink?" And we're all mesmerized. We got ass, in our face,
ass and titties. Ass and titties. That's it.
So, I mean, we were just like, yeah, okay.
It's called taking advantage of the drunk young kids from America, pretty much.
But the thing is, we weren't drunk. We had drink, but we weren't drunk. We were very sober. And we decided to buy them a drink. They come out with the drinks. We get the lap dance. It's over, whatever. And we were about to leave. And the guy's like, okay, your total is like 180 euros. And we're like, what? Like
for 2 waters and a Shirley Temple.
Yeah, basically. It just one drink and one drink each, and it was like 180 euros. And he's like, did you check the menu prices? I was like, whoa. I was like, we don't have that kind of money. I was like, you told us it was 20. And they were speaking French to us. They were, saying they were going to call the police. They're typical douchebags who try to take advantage of the tourists, which worked.
You're out of your element, bro.
Because
you don't
know better. We're 21 and we're in Paris, and we got duped by these guys, and we ended up having to take maybe like 50 or 60 euros each. Most of us had cards with us, so we told them we only had cards. So we gave them, I think, 50 or 60 euros each, and they let us leave. So a good experience turned out bad, but once again, a learning experience and something that when we went to other countries, we figured out, and we're like, no, we're not falling for that again. So.
Never trust a stripper.
Yep.
Hey, Jesus.
Pretty much.
Lap dances and $20.
So we got screwed. in that instance, but at the end of the day, it's another story to tell, and it's just money, and we laugh about it now. So that was the Paris experience right there.
You also went to Germany, right?
Yeah, that was my later trip though. That was my trip that I went on by myself.
Yeah. Was it Italy then? With the
Yeah,
the
so we did Rome.
For how long? For how many days?
I think it was 3 or 4 days.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the first time we did Rome, and we did all the touristy stuff. We didn't go in the Colosseum. We saw the outside of it, but we did go into the Vatican. We went to the top of the Vatican, which is a very cool experience, and that was with all the people from API as well. Which at that point, you come in and you're with this certain group that you hang out with, but you start, expanding your horizons, expanding your friendships, and you start meeting other people. And the certain people that I was with, they kind of just, it was like a clique, they were very cliquish, and they didn't want to make friends with the other kids in the groups. Meanwhile, I did, I was making friends with everyone else, and at times they would get upset at me because I was hanging out with everyone else. And this, I remember Italy vaguely because there was times where I was hanging out with certain groups of friends from the other schools instead of the kids who just went to Suffolk, and they were getting upset, and it started out to be a huge drama fest towards the end, just like everything,
You spend enough time with people, that's what happens.
Yeah, so but it was cool that we got to hang out with a few different people from different schools, so it was nice. But Rome was amazing, just all the history there, and being able to be with I think it was like 30 or 40 people from the group was nice. Just we got our own free time, and we did stuff all together, so it was cool meeting other people as well. And then where else did we go?
You read a lot of is it Dan Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah. You read him before you went, right?
No,
or while you were there?
No, I started reading after
Seeing everything for yourself?
Yeah, so it was after that trip that I started reading it, but before I went on my solo trip in 2014, I read, I think, one or two of his books. And, I mean, if you guys don't know Dan Brown, he's the author of Angels and Demons.
Da Vinci
and
Code.
The Da Vinci Code.
What was the last one?
The Lost Symbol, I think.
No, like the last one that was made, with the plague or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's the one that the movie came out as well.
Yeah. Anyways, the Da Vinci Code, all that stuff.
Dante Inferno.
Inferno, yeah. And this is all 2013. And being abroad, how many countries did you go to being abroad?
So when I was there, and then I'm trying to think. Oh, we also went to Turkey, to Istanbul.
Did you?
Yeah, and that was me, Gustavo, and Matt. So I didn't travel with my two roommates anymore. At that point, I traveled with Gustavo and Matt, and we went to Istanbul.
And how long? For how long?
We did Istanbul for, I think it was 4 days as well.
4 days.
And that had a funny ending to it because Matt was teaching me how to play poker, and he had this like crazy lounge VIP pass, and we had
what though? Like at a bar, at a club?
No, these are at the airports. So at the airports, he had this VIP lounge passes where we would go in, and he could bring guests, and we'd have access to alcohol, food, all that stuff. So we took advantage of it, and we had a layover to Istanbul in Germany, and we ended up missing our flight because we were learning how to play poker.
Perfect.
And we ran to the terminal, didn't get there in time, and our flight left in the morning, so we ended up having to stay in a little hotel in Munich. So that's a funny story as well, because I had class the next day, and we needed to make it back that morning, and I still made it to class. So
cutting it down to the wire, bro.
Yeah. And we visited Munich for the night. We just took the train in and went to like this bar in Munich, and then took the train back, and the bus service stopped. So luckily Matt had his iPhone, which he had a SIM card with service, in Germany, and we were able to map out exactly where we were. So we had to walk for over an hour back to our hotel, slept for like 2 hours, and then went back and took our flight.
Isn't that crazy what you can do when you're 20, 21? You think you could do that right now? 26?
Probably not.
You'd be miserable.
Yeah.
But that's dope. You want to pause now because you got.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
like 5 more minutes.
All right. The businessman has to take a business call. We're interrupting his time today, so. All right, so
But yeah, so Istanbul was a complete different aspect as well. It was just a whole different culture from European. In parts of there's a part of Istanbul that's in Asia and parts of it that's in Europe. So it's
no
like,
shit, dude.
Yeah, so there's two sides of it. It's
Did you visit both?
yeah, it's split up by a canal. We towards the end of I think the last day we were in Istanbul, we went to the Asian side.
What would you say is like the biggest difference?
Well, there's not a huge difference, but most of Turkey is in the Asian side, but there's a part of Istanbul that's in the European side.
Does the food fluctuate as far as like?
No, the culture is still the same. It's just because it's split up by the Bosphorus, which is a huge like waterway, and when Turkey was in the Ottoman Empire, it was difficult to split up. Istanbul was like one of the biggest culturally centered areas in the world. So when it came to split up, it's only split up because of the Bosphorus, which is a waterway that leads to like the Mediterranean Sea. Lots of goods go in and out of there, and I think that's why it's split between Europe and Asia. But it is facts, and it was the first time I landed my feet in Asia, so. It was Turkey was a very cool experience.
Stop tapping.
Sorry, and just having my friend Gustavo had a friend who was living there as well, because he actually lived in Boston for a little bit. He took a culinary class.
Yeah, you're kidding me.
Yeah, here in Boston.
Really?
Yeah, because he was going to culinary school.
Where in the North End?
I don't remember where it was, but there's it's
Oh,
Cordon Bleu,
Yeah,
school.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
he went to that
Go
school,
figure.
and he took English classes here, and he met this girl from Turkey, who we ended up meeting in Istanbul, and she showed us around and stuff, and she was super super nice. Shout out to Elif, super nice girl.
I love how you remember all these names.
Yeah, she was really really sweet. So we got to see Istanbul there. Went to a bunch of different mosques, and every mosque you go to, you have to take off your shoes, and ladies have to wear something on their heads. But very cool city, very different foods. The bazaar is just a shopping area where there's everything you can think of: spices, goods.
Like
clothes.
an open marketplace or like a mall?
Yeah, open marketplace.
Okay.
It's really really cool, and you get to haggle with all the people in there.
Nothing like bartering.
Yeah, it's a very cool experience, and I actually ended up going to Istanbul again with my parents after they came to visit towards the end of my semester. So it was very very cool.
All right, so to wrap up the Euro trip, if you will, what was your favorite experience being there, whether it be a painting, a site, a night out, and the best food you had? You think you can narrow that down?
It's hard to say. It's really hard to try to crunch everything in because there's so many stories. I mean, we ended up. I think my last trip was to Morocco. I did go to Morocco.
That was the first time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the first. When I was still studying abroad, we went to Morocco. It was like 8 of us. It was my first time in Africa too, which was really cool. So that was an awesome experience as well. Very eye opening, just seeing a completely different culture, Arab culture. It was just nice. And then my parents came to visit. So actually, before my parents, so our semester ended, and then I went to. Me and my friend Emily went to Barcelona. Me, my friend Emily, and Carrie Ann, and Matt. We all went to Barcelona, and then from Barcelona, I got really sick before I went to Barcelona. By the way, going out partying and
Not taking care of yourself.
and not taking care of yourself, being extremely dehydrated is a bad idea.
Alcohol, food poisoning.
I had to go to the hospital, and I had 5 IVs put in me, and I had to do an ultrasound. Stuff that pregnant women do, I had to do because I thought I had a stomach bug, but it was all just from severe dehydration.
That's what happens. Drinking Ciroc every night.
It wasn't Ciroc then. It was this $6 bottle of vodka or €6 bottle of vodka called Aristoff. It was gross.
Never again.
So yeah, that's what you do when you're 21. But went to Barcelona towards the end of the trip. Barcelona, and then went to south of France with my friend Emily. Got to see Monaco, which was really cool. Went to Nice and Cannes as well. Cannes Film Festival.
Cannes Film Festival.
Got to visit Cannes, which was really cool. Just took a little train over there. And then I came back to Madrid, and then that's when my parents came, and we stayed 2 weeks, and then flew into Milan, did Venice, took a train to Venice, and then we flew to Istanbul, and then we did Paris as well. And then we came back to Madrid and flew home. So all in all, I ended up doing a lot of traveling that first study abroad year.
And that was just studying abroad.
Yeah.
Just Europe, which is insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, counting the part of Asia I did in Istanbul, and then Africa, which was Morocco.
It's like 9 to 10 countries, bro.
Yeah, I think, yeah. If you counted, it was like 9.
Jesus.
So it's hard to
talk
pick.
About a blast of culture.
Yeah, it's hard to really pick, the best food. And I mean, all in all, I don't think Spanish food was the best food that I had.
The Spanish people are going to be so mad you said that.
I just think there's better food out there. I think the paella is really, really good. It's authentic Spanish food. And there was some stuff that I got used to, but I think if it was to choose, I had some really, really good kebabs in Turkey and Istanbul. They were delicious.
Is this like street food?
Yeah.
Like market food?
Yeah, just like street food.
Yeah.
Street kebabs. Where they have like this huge spinning meat like on a skewer like in front, and they have like it cooking in front of you, and then just cut it off and put it on like either like a pita bread, or they serve it like on these plates with like these sauce and like this yogurt sauce that they have. It was delicious. It would be either that or all the pizza and gelato that I ate in Italy at that time. Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
All right, we're going to take a quick break because the man has to take a business call. We'll be right back. Here's some music.
Tell me what is up. Yeah. Tell me what is up. Yeah. Ain't I'm in my zone. Twist that swishy up. Soon as I switch it up, I'ma call on your phone. Right outside your home. Bring your fine ass home. Soon as I hang it up, text you hurry up. Tell a girl hurry up. Tell a girl hurry up. Tell me what is up. Tell me what is up.
All right, we're finally back from the business call. We'll dive right back into this shit.
Here we go.
All right, so that was the wrap-up of 2013, the study abroad. And then at some point, you decided to travel by yourself and do, I don't think it was a Euro trip, or was it?
No, yeah, it was, yep.
A Euro trip?
Yeah, so it was the year after I graduated. So I graduated in 2014.
Yep.
And then the year after that, in 2015, around end of September, I decided to do a solo Euro trip. I tried to get Brenna to come along, our friend Brenna, but
we broke.
Yeah, basically.
We broke.
So I wanted to, I had the chance to be able to do a trip by myself, or to do a trip in general for a long period of time, and I wasn't gonna wait around for anyone, so I decided to just go and do it myself.
Okay, so let's talk about this from the groundwork. You said you left in September. So what is the preparations as far as booking flights, knowing where you want to go, planning a budget, what you pack, because you're doing all this stuff by yourself. Where did you stay? Hostels, Airbnbs, hotels. We're gonna go through it step by step here.
Right. I first started out by researching the places that I hadn't gone to.
Those being
when I was in when I was studying abroad. So I didn't get to go to London, which is a place where I really wanted to go. I also wanted to go to Greece.
I can't wait to chop this up and fucking put in the London Calling by The Clash. So go ahead.
So London, Greece, and then I slipped in Croatia in there, and I wanted to do different parts of Italy as well. I love Italy, and I wanted to see the southern part of Italy. And I had a friend of mine, Tyler, who was playing semi-professional soccer in Germany, and he had friends in Italy who went to school with him, who went to college with him, and we were able I was able to talk to him and able to meet up with him, where his friend took us on a tour down south of Italy, and his friend worked for this company, which is similar to Bus to Alps. I forget the name of the company, but it's like they do travel for kids who study abroad. So they pretty much book everything, like transportation, tickets to different things
In advance?
Yeah, in advance. It's like, so I can't remember the exact name of the company, but it's similar to Bus to Alps, which is just that started off as a company where they did like this bus to the Alps, and then they started doing other excursions around Europe for kids who study abroad. So whether it's like a weekend trip down to southern Italy or going to Lagos in Portugal, which is another place that I forgot about when I was studying abroad, is Portugal. I did Lisbon, and I did south of Portugal in Lagos, in the Algarve, which is beautiful, beautiful. Top 10, either top 10 or top 20 most beautiful beaches in the world down in the south of Portugal.
Is that real?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yep. And that's where my uncle's from, Tete's husband.
Sylvester.
Yep. He's from down south there, so forgot about that. But either way, going back to my solo trip, I was just trying to find different places that I didn't go. I had stopped in Germany that time, in Munich, but I wanted to go back and actually explore Germany. So Germany was one of the places, and I had met this girl in Rockland who was from Norway, so I was able to go visit her in Norway as well during that time, which is a country that I never thought I'd go visit. So London was definitely in my plans. I don't think Croatia was, but I think because Croatia was so close to Greece, I wanted to fit it in there as well. And I heard, it was beautiful. I started researching stuff as well, researching, different areas about where to go in Europe. And so that's the first thing, is trying to figure out where you want to go. And then I think after that, you start people do it differently. There's some people who go and just book a one-way flight, and once you get to Europe, you start booking
figure it out, backpack,
and book the things from there. I wanted to do things in a different way, so I booked everything for that trip beforehand, at least all my flights. So I had an itinerary where I booked every single flight. First I booked a two-way flight, so a round-trip flight to and from London. So I was going to leave from London, and I did it in like a month span. So I had a month to do as many other countries as I wanted. So from then on, I would take one-way flights to different countries. So my first country was to London. Then I took a one-way to Greece, one-way to Croatia, one-way to Italy, and then one-way to Germany, and then one-way to Norway, and one-way back to London, where I would then leave from there.
Jesus, bro. In
So,
a month?
Yeah, it was. I think it was like 4 weeks. Yeah, it was about. Yeah, it was about a month, but after that was when I started to figure out where the places I'd be staying, and I had the first time I ever got a hostel experience was when I studied abroad. My friend Carrie Ann really stressed, "Oh, let's stay in a hostel. Let's stay in a hostel." When we went to Portugal, and we stayed in this hostel in Portugal in Lisbon, and it was a great experience. It was me, her, and another one of her friends, and just being in the hostel, they had a bunch of events for us to do. There was people working in the hostel who were just working there to live there, and they were from different kind of countries. There was one kid from Sweden, and he just stopped in Portugal and decided he stayed there at that hostel at one point and was like, "Oh, do you guys need help?" And what he does is he cooks for everyone in the hostel, and he's able to stay there for free. And he said that before that he was spending time in Barcelona. So there's a lot of people who you meet with crazy stories, especially in Europe, because European culture, every country is so close to you that when people are, under 21 and like finishing high school, what everyone does there is travel. Or
at least like take a year off and
Yeah.
figure out what you're going to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Take a year off and go and go everywhere. And not only people who are English, Australians as well, because Australians have at least 1 month break from work, where here we have like 1 week paid off and we have maybe 2 weeks top vacation if you do any kind of corporate job or anything like that. In Australia, you have 1 month off where you get paid still. And most Australians, if you don't use that in a year, it combines into the next year. So if you don't use your full month in the first year that you're working, let's say you only use 2 weeks, that the rest of those 2 weeks go into the next year. So I met this girl in Croatia who was traveling for 2 months because she didn't use any of her vacation for the month, and she's getting paid throughout all of it. She was a nurse. And I said, we're living in the wrong country.
That's fucking dope.
Yeah, it's really amazing. It's like any kind of corporate
I didn't
job,
know that at all.
Yeah, or whatever it is. And Australia's not
Time
the
to
only
move.
place like that.
Pack your bags.
Places like Norway, places like Sweden, Denmark, the Scandinavian countries that have an amazing economic status, they're able to do that as well. So you meet a lot of Australians traveling around Europe.
A lot of Aussies.
A lot of Aussies, yep. So Portugal, like I said, going back to it, was the first time I stayed in a hostel, and it was just a great experience. Being able to bond with so many people who are doing the same thing as you. We did a pub crawl with everyone.
You piece of killing me, bro.
Yeah, we did a pub crawl and got to meet a bunch of different people. And you start off in the hostel. Everyone's drinking there. They do a bunch of games, and then we go on from bar to bar to bar until you pretty much can't walk.
That's your 20s. There you go.
Yep, and you just meet so many people. You have a great time. Like I said, everyone's pretty much doing the same thing that you are. They're looking for a cheap place to stay, cheap food, because they want to travel and experience as much as they can, while on a budget. So, when I decided to do my Euro trip by myself, I was like, I'm going to stay in hostels. I was like, I want to, I had a great experience then, and I want to experience that again. So I stayed in a hostel. I started looking at hostels on Hostel World. It's the biggest hostel site online that there is now, and it's extremely reliable. They have, different ratings, reviews, and everything that you can read, so you can know everything about the hostel that you're staying at, whether it's a shitty one, whether it's a good one, whether it's big, whether it's small. You can get private rooms in the hostels, whatever it is. But I'd say Hostel World is the place to go if you're looking for cheap stay. There's also couch surfing. I never wanted to do couch surfing just because, it's my first time traveling alone, and I think now if I were to do it, I think I would definitely research it a little bit more, and I would actually maybe attempt to do it. But that was my first time traveling alone, and hostels was already a big, thing for me, from going from hotels to hostels, and so I was like, I'm gonna stick with hostels now. It's always obviously a better way to meet other people as well.
Yeah, couch surfing, you're pretty limited. You're pretty much having had my fair share of couch surfing. You never know who you're gonna fucking meet, but it's definitely limited. So the people that you only know are the people that you're pretty much your hosts, and that's it. Whereas hostel is a community. Yeah. Everybody from anywhere is around.
Yeah, and especially the London one that I stayed in, the room had, I think, 20 beds in it. So
that's insanity.
And that's only one room. There was the place was huge. So breakfast was included in that place, and breakfast was just like a piece of toast. I mean, it wasn't anything extravagant. No eggs or anything like that. It was like some toast and fruit and cereal and stuff. So, but that's, I mean, when you go down to breakfast is where I started meeting, a couple different people, and there was a free walking tour that was coming out of our hostel, which I ended up going to, and I met more people. And then from the walking tour, I ended up meeting people from California, Americans from California, people from Australia, people from there was one person who was Greek, one Italian. There was people from everywhere. And the good thing about the walking tours, they are free. They do it based on a tip basis, so you can give them whatever you want. And it's a good walking tour, and they take you to all the most what's the word I'm
notable
looking for? Yeah, like the touristy spots.
Yeah.
But they actually go into detail and explain to you, every, like, the history about it and stuff, which is cool. So that's something I definitely recommend for people to do.
So more or less like a tour guide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend that for people to do that. When they're in any city, you can just look it up on Google, look up free walking tours, and there's a point in the city where everyone meets at a certain time. It's usually like 2 times a day, and it's a great way to meet different people, and also get a good history lesson of the place you're at for very cheap, or nothing at all if you want to be a cheap bastard and not tip.
Right up your alley, bro. Right up your alley.
Fuck off.
All right, so where are we now?
So, okay, just going back to what you said and just planning everything out. So, like I said, I booked all the flights first, and then I started looking for places to stay. So in London, I used a hostel. In Greece, I used a hostel, and in Croatia, I used a hostel as well. So,
did you give yourself a time frame for like how long you want to stay here?
Yeah. I gave myself 4 days in London just because I actually had a friend who was studying there, Zach Grady. I don't know if you remember Zach.
Of course I remember Zach.
Yeah. So he was studying there. We actually went to a couple of games. We went to the West Ham Newcastle game, and then we got to see a Champions League game with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
Fuck Chelsea, but the experience must have been dope.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. I got tickets last minute, just went to the stadium to check it out, and ended up hearing that they have a game tomorrow, and ended up getting 2 tickets for the Champions League game against Maccabi Tel Aviv, which is they're from Israel. So that was it was very cool. Very cool experience in London. And I also had a friend who I met in Brazil who was living in London. She went to school with one of my cousins, and she showed me around a little bit.
Who's that?
This girl, Alini, who...
Don't know her.
Yeah, she went to school with my cousin Lucas and Tiago. They both knew her from Criciúma, and she was living in London. So.
Oh, God.
So I ended up hitting her up, and we met up, and she showed me a little bit, a couple different places, which is cool. So, I mean, I knew some people in London. When I went to Greece, didn't know anyone. Got there and just kind of put my stuff down and started exploring the city by myself. And when I came back to my room after exploring, getting some food, looking up some different historical sites, which, I mean, I looked everything up. I got a map from the host at the hostel, and came back to the room, and there was 3 Brazilian girls that were staying in the room with me. So, or 3 or 4. So it was a room of 5, and 4 Brazilian girls were staying there with me as well. So
Sounds like an orgy.
no, nothing actually happened. But
no, but that's it. That's just the comfort of home. Someone to speak your native tongue. A lot of cultural similarities.
Definitely.
It would definitely make things a lot easier than not knowing anybody, if you will.
Yeah, so it was cool. So right away, when you travel by yourself, you start really putting yourself out there because you want to make friends. You want to,
You want to do stuff. I mean, granted, people like to do shit by themselves, but at the same time, I mean, you want to have fun. You want to have people to go out and do stuff with, and just be by yourself all the time.
Right, and that was the cool part. So, met those girls, and then we went upstairs. There was a little rooftop bar at the hostel that we stayed at, which was really cool. And we got to see a view of the Acropolis at night. It was so then everyone came up, had cheap beers. Everything in Athens was pretty cheap. So had some beers, hung out with some different people, met some Americans, met some people from all over the world as well. And then the next morning, ended up going with 2 of the Brazilian girls to visit, the actual sites and go to the Acropolis, actually like pay for the tours and stuff, or not pay for the tours, but pay for the entrance fees to actually get into the places. And we did all the, the historical sites all together, which was nice. And then after that, I wanted to at least go to one of the islands off of Greece, and I didn't realize that, the big named islands like Santorini and Mykonos were like 6 hours away from Athens. Much quicker on a plane, but on a ferry it was pretty far. And
By boat was 6 hours.
Yeah, and I only have 4 days.
That's more than a day trip for real.
Yeah, so I didn't research that before, so I talked to the host, and I was like, I really wanted to at least go to some islands around here. Like, what do you recommend? And he told me about this small little island right off the coast of Athens. It was about like an hour ferry ride. He's like, just go there. He's like, you're gonna take the public transport right to the docks. He's like, you can buy your tickets there and go to this little island.
You know what it's called? You remember?
Yeah, I can look it up here. But I definitely don't regret it. There wasn't that many people who went there and ended up going, and the beach I went to, there was maybe 5 people there. And
I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, depends
yeah, it depends on how you see it. I mean,
or how your mentality for the day. If you want to just chill out, meditate, and take it all in, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's how it was. That's how I took it. Like I was there by myself. I brought a book, read, and had my GoPro, took a bunch of pictures, and just relaxed and swam. But one thing is, I figured there would be, I thought there would be, some kind of little shops or anything around. There was nothing. It was like a deserted beach, and I was completely unprepared. I had eaten before, but I had this 1 gallon of like bottle of water that I had brought, and it was like halfway full only. So I had that to last me the entire way.
Yeah.
While I was at the beach. But then after that, I needed to catch. So I bought a round trip ferry to Athens. So I was gonna go back the same day. I just wanted to spend the day at the beach. But the thing is, there's only 1 bus that goes around the whole island, and I didn't know that. So when I first got there, everyone hopped on the bus. The bus was packed, and I was like, well, I'll just wait for another bus. And I was looking at the bus times, and no bus. So I wait for about an hour, and that same bus driver comes back this way. I was like, this guy just went all the way to the end of the island and comes back around and goes to the other side now. So I was like, well, I should have just hopped on the bus and just gone to any beach. But I was reading a little bit on TripAdvisor, and they talked about this beach, Dragonera Beach. And not knowing anything about the island, just hopped on the boat. I'm sorry, hopped on the bus and just stopped at like as soon as I saw the sign, and it was just me walking down the path of the beach, and you get there, and it's huge, like there's huge cliffs on the side, and there's this huge beach area that there was maybe 4 or 5 people there, and water was crystal clear, nice and blue. It was amazing, and it was nice to just have it by myself. I mean, at first, the island was called Agistri. It's a very, very small island right off the coast of Athens, but it was great. I mean, it was great to just have that time by myself. I actually ended up chatting with this old couple from Switzerland, and they said they go there every single year because it's nice and quiet. And I was talking to the husband, and the wife was in the water, and she comes out of the water, and it's very common for Europeans to have their tops off. So his wife comes out with just topless, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like in our culture, in American culture, even in Brazilian culture, you don't see much topless, but if you go to anywhere in Europe, you see topless
it's everywhere.
beaches everywhere. So
It's on his taboo.
She comes back, and she's topless, and I'm just like, okay. And we're just having a conversation. Her husband's next to me, and she's next to her husband on the other side, just with her tits out. And I was just like, okay, like just pretend like there's nothing there.
Oh my god. But damn. All right, so the second stop was Greece. What was the third stop?
Yeah, so that was Greece. All in all, a good experience. I just really stayed. Besides the fact that when we were leaving on our flight to Croatia, our flight got canceled, and we had to stay one more day in Athens. But
what was the weather like for the
hot.
time of season?
It was
Summertime?
Yeah, no, it was September. It was end of September, but it was still hot there. It was nice weather. It was like in the 80s.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. So, and I knew another reason why I don't know. I should have said this in the beginning, but I traveled around that September time is because the busiest times to travel is during June through August. And then as soon as September hits, everyone's back in school. Everyone's, back in their lives. People aren't traveling with their kids anymore, so there's way less people traveling. So everything else is cheaper as well, which is another reason why I went during that time. And it's also not as cold, because if you go around to December to Europe, it's cold. Yeah. So I decided to go around that time because it was still partially warm, especially in areas like Greece, Croatia, and Italy. So my flight to Croatia, because of some weather, I think, or something happened, it got delayed, and then finally they said we weren't flying out. We were only flying out the next day. But they put us up in this like 5-star resort. It was kind of sketchy at first, because we took a taxi. I ended up meeting people at the airport who was taking the same flight. We took a taxi to this place. Everything was paid for. And
by the airline?
Yeah, by the airline, yep.
Just because you missed your flight, really?
Yep.
Damn,
So,
talk about good service.
yeah, so we stayed at this like 4-star resort. It was really nice. It was like off the cliffs. It was nowhere near Athens, like the actual city of Athens, but it was still really nice. Had a nice view of the water, and we got free drinks, free food. The food was like buffet style. It was really, really good food, and we ended up partying with the people at the hotel, and it was a cool experience. Met some more people there, and we all ended up flying to Dubrovnik in Croatia after that as well. So that was a cool experience. Met some Brazilian guys who were on that flight as well. So we flew out the next morning, flew to Dubrovnik, which is a small island right near Bosnia. So it's like in the south part of Croatia, also known as King's Landing from Game of Thrones.
Yay.
So if anyone's a Game of Thrones fan, it's a lot of where King's Landing is filmed, and it's another reason why I wanted to go there. It was really, really difficult to try to find a place to stay, especially in the city, because the city of Dubrovnik is like all built around a wall, and it hasn't changed for for years now. And staying in the city, there's no cars in there. It's just people. And it's all old school. Like the streets are like very narrow.
Sidewalks.
Yeah, it was
Narrow
really
as
cool.
shit.
Yeah, it was cool to be able to stay in there. Anyone who had big luggage suffered going through the cobblestones and stuff. So, I only had like a little carry-on and a backpack with me. But if I knew what I know now back then, I would have just had a bigger backpack and just carried the backpack. Because it would have been much easier. Carrying around a luggage in cobblestones is not fun.
Jesus.
We had to help one of the Australian girls with her luggage. She was traveling for 2 months. She had a literal huge luggage with her, and she was a girl that had like 120 pounds. She was like 5'2", 5'3". Ridiculous.
Chivalry isn't dead, guys. Chivalry is not dead.
So, Croatia was one of my favorite places that I went to in that trip. Probably my favorite. Just completely different. Never thought I'd go there, and the food was great. The water was beautiful there. Met a bunch of people in the hostel that I was staying at. Met these Australian guys. Went cliff jumping. All in all, a great experience.
Yeah, and this is these photos are mostly posted on your is it Instagram?
Yeah, my Instagram.
And you have a Facebook page too for traveling?
Yeah, I have a Facebook travel account.
We can tag all that at the end if you want.
But mostly it's
well documented is what I'm trying to get at.
Everything on my Instagram goes through my Facebook, but everything that all my travels, almost all my pictures are posted on that Instagram, and I give a little bio for like every picture that I take about where I went and all that stuff. So all those pictures from a lot of those pictures from Dubrovnik are on there, which is cool.
How was it adjusting I guess time wise, like your jet lag versus like sleeping patterns and appetite?
In the beginning it's tough, but I think what I learned, especially when I first went studying abroad, everyone tells you, especially if you're flying at night, you're going to get there during daytime. So if you didn't get any sleep during the plane, just wait it out until it's nighttime at the place you're at. Because if not, your sleeping pattern is just going to be really, really
fucked.
Bad. Yeah. Eating was fine. Most of the time, I would eat out, but if I wanted to save some money, I would also just go and buy like little sandwiches or snacks and stuff like that, and eat that. Lots of fruit as well. But a lot of the times, you're just eating in restaurants, and hopefully the places that you're at, like in Greece, for example, there was meals that I was paying, 5-6 euros for, and there were good sized meals with drinks and all that, as opposed to in London, you pay like £13 for fish and chips.
Jesus Christ.
Which is
I'll take the chips, hold the fish.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
more
God.
expensive. So
That's a huge difference.
yeah, and then so from Croatia, great experience there. Went to Italy, met up with one of my friends, Tyler, like I said, who was playing semi-professional soccer in Germany, and he was taking some time off to travel as well. And we went. I flew into Rome, which I had already been to, so I spent just a day in Rome walking around with him. And then we took a train down to Napoli, and then from Napoli down to Positano.
Keep hitting them P's, bro. Say it one more time. Jesus, bro.
Positano, and down in the Amalfi Coast.
Ooh.
So we took a train down there, and we spent, I think, 2 or 3 days down in the south of Italy, which was really, really cool.
Crazy. The Amalfi Coast.
Yep. There's a
How's the
beach.
food in Italy? Pizza. Wine. How's the wine? The red wine.
I didn't have much red wine, but it was good. I had lots of pizza, lots of gelato, pasta.
Goddamn.
It's good stuff.
I'm jealous right now.
We went to the birthplace of pizza, which is Napoli. It's where pizza was
Is that serious?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah. Napoli is where pizza was created, and we had authentic Neapolitan pizza.
Any good?
Yeah, it was delicious.
What
it was,
kinds?
It was just like
Just regular cheese?
Yeah,
or-
it was just like margarita is what they
Oh,
call
really?
it.
Yeah.
Which is like
that's
tomato
fucking-
sauce and
Mhm.
cheese and basil and stuff. It's really good.
That's dope.
And then we got to see Pompeii, the old city of Pompeii, the volcano.
City of Dicks. Gotta love
Yes.
it.
Crazy amount of
Pornographic images,
yep.
dildos, statues, all that shit. That's
Yeah, it's
crazy, bro.
Pretty interesting. I didn't know much about it until I went. It was
The
cool.
only reason why I know that is because I saw like a 1 hour special on it on National Geographic or something on the Discovery Channel.
You go outside the city and they have like these little stands where you can buy gifts and stuff, and it's just there's different sized dicks. There's
Gotta
like
love it, man.
sex paintings everywhere.
Yeah,
It's-
dude, they're everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
They're fucking embedded in the walls and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
It's crazy.
everywhere. Yep. So there's still stuff standing from the city, that burned from the volcano, obviously.
Which is insane. And how it's
And-
still preserved is incredible.
Yeah, and you can still see some paintings because there was a lot of rooms where, there were like baths and saunas and stuff, and a lot of sexual shit went down.
There you go. And it all burned to hell.
And it all burned to hell.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So, oh man, that's hilarious.
So-
All right. So, what was the last stop on your Euro trip? Like the one you traveled by yourself. I want to make that clear.
So it was Norway. So I
It
went
was
from.
Norway.
I did 5 days in Italy total. We went to Florence after. Florence is considered the art capital of the world. The biggest artist.
And what was that like taking that in after studying art history?
It was awesome. Just being there, seeing.
Did you know? Like, were you familiar with the artwork and the artists and everything afterwards?
a lot of things clicked. A lot of the artists and even this is backtracking a little bit. Like when I went to Washington D.C., there was a I remember one of the artists now. His name was Goya, and there was a Goya. They had brought all his paintings over from Spain, and there was a Goya. How do I say it? I'm trying to think of the word. Exhibit, yeah. There was a Goya exhibit there at the museum.
Or exhibition.
In Washington. Yeah. And I knew all the paintings. I remember them from studying art history there. So, when being in Florence, I wasn't able to go to the famous museum there. It was I think it's the Medici Museum. I gotta look it up. But got to see all the rest of Florence. Florence is was one of my favorite cities in Italy, just because it's so small. It's walkable everywhere. Everywhere you go, you can walk around the whole city in an entire half a day, and it's really cool. You get some really cool views of it.
And this was the Euro trip was more by yourself, number one, and two.
The Uffizi Gallery is the famous.
Uffizi Gallery.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to go. The line was huge.
Probably, yeah.
Huge. So
You got to pay every time you go to these things, like inside.
most of the time, but if you have a student ID, you can get a big discount. Or sometimes there's some museums you can go in for free. if
Yeah.
you have it, yeah. Which is cool.
And then the last stop was Norway.
No, I did Germany first, and then Norway. So Germany, I went to Berlin. Didn't know anyone there. Stayed in a hostel, and that was a cool experience. Got to see some World War II memorials. Got to see the Berlin Wall.
Always a treat. World
Yeah.
War II was great,
Yep.
especially for Germany.
The walking tour there was interesting. We saw the area where where Hitler was killed himself, and just a lot of history stuff.
That's heavy shit, though, man.
Yeah.
That's it's crazy, dude.
It is for sure. But
Think about that.
The Germans embrace it.
Think about that even in or Pompeii or the Greece, the Colosseum, and it's still standing
Yeah.
after thousands of years, just still there in
Yeah.
someone's backyard.
Even the Acropolis. When I went to the Acropolis in Greece, they were doing a lot of restoration on it because a lot of it's destroyed, especially because of all the wars. When the Greeks got into the wars 100 years ago, the first thing they try to do is destroy their historical sites. So there's a lot of stuff that's just
Decaying.
dilapidated.
Yeah.
But it's cool to set foot in a place where so much history has happened.
Yeah, dude, think about that though.
Yeah.
Think about when people have been in there or died.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
Yep. It's very cool. So Berlin was a city that I mean, I've always wanted to go to like Germany, and Berlin was my first stop. I didn't want to go to Munich at that time because Oktoberfest was happening, and it's just
That's
craziness.
chaos,
Yeah.
mayhem.
So I did Berlin instead, and it was definitely a good experience. Met some very cool people. Met this Australian girl who I kept in touch with for a while. She was super, super nice. And this kid who was also rooming with us. We all went out one night to this like sketchy ass Berlin bar. But like the thing about Berlin, everything is very artsy. So you see a lot of different kind of people. You go to these underground bars and stuff like
That's
that.
the best shit though.
And you think it's sketchy as hell, but then you get there and it's actually really cool.
That's
But
because the
a
outside.
lot of drugs, though.
That's because the outside probably looks like shit, run down, dive bar, and then you walk inside, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's actually kept well.
Yeah, a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking, but it was. I mean, I didn't indulge in that shit. All the kids that I went with did, but still, still had a good time.
Shit.
And to top off Berlin, everything is so structurally organized in Germany that if you're taking the T, there's no little ticket checker. So like you don't have to go and check your ticket in to go. So a lot of people just jump on the train without paying. But throughout the whole time I was there, I paid for every ticket. I never got checked once. So of course, what do? On my way to the airport, I don't pay for my ticket and just go. And that's the day they decide to check the tickets.
Yo, what is it? What's the law? The law of something? It's like it's gonna land on black so many times before it lands on red again. I fucking forget that law. I gotta look it up.
I was pissed.
But that's what happens, man.
And
you do it 10 times. The 11th time, it's possible.
And I got taken out of the train and
Sent to jail.
didn't get sent to jail. They held my passport. And
Did they really?
Yeah, until I had to. I was like, I told them I had no cash, and they told me to go downstairs, and there's an ATM downstairs, and I had to take out money and give them like, I don't know, like 80 euros for a fine. Something stupid. So
That sucks.
yep. You
Fuck,
live and you
man.
learn. You live and you learn.
That's crazy though.
I was
well,
pissed because the ticket was maybe like $4 or €4.
well,
or
that was
whatever.
$84.
Yep. So
Oh shit.
still got to my flight on time, my flight to Norway. So, and actually, I forgot as well to mention that my flight from Florence to Germany, I almost didn't get on the flight. Apparently, the runway in Florence is very small, and they were saying that the flight that we were going on, the plane, because of the weather and stuff, it was too full and it was too heavy and it might not lift up. I don't know if it was just some bullshit
Fuck that.
or what, but me and this lady ended up fighting until the end to get into the flight because there was no other flights, and if I had missed that one, I would have missed my flight to Norway, and it would have fucked my
Everything
whole
on the trip up, yeah.
Yep. So, because there's only two or three flights a week from Florence to Berlin, and what
How do
ended
you
up
say
happening,
how do you say it's too full? Like how is that a
that's
how is
what,
that even
that's the excuse they were giving us, and the lady's like, how does that make any sense? And they were only letting people who checked in online like get a guaranteed seat. So if you went into the counter and checked in, you weren't guaranteed a seat. So me and this Italian lady really got into it with them, and they ended up letting us fly, but no one's bags came with us. They left all the bags behind, and so
I mean you only had a backpack, right? And a carry-on.
and I had a carry-on, and my carry-on had all my clothes on. This little tiny carry-on that's like, it fits every single. It was like a small carry-on that fits every size airline, so I don't have to worry about like the restriction size or whatever. And my carry-on stayed, so I had a few underwear and I think
Socks.
I had a few underwear, socks, and a pair of jeans. No, I had like these sweatpants that I had on, and I think I had 2 t-shirts in my backpack, and that's it. And then like some of my toiletries, the rest of the stuff, even one of my shoes was in my carry-on, and it I never saw it again until the U.S. until I got back home.
Jesus, dude.
So,
it's like weeks.
So I got to Berlin and I had to go out shopping and buy new clothes, and
They definitely stiffed you, for sure.
I was pissed.
That
But,
sucks.
yeah, but then again, it's just one of those things that happens when you travel. I mean, like, you know, people see it through your Instagram, people see it through this, but a lot of the times there's a lot of struggles that go through it.
Yeah,
So,
like when we went to Brazil, and I had to wear the same fucking board shorts for 4 or 5 days till our luggage came.
yep.
It's
Same thing.
unbelievable.
And those things happen often, so people don't think so, but they do.
What are the odds, though? The first time you're going somewhere ever, and then your shit just doesn't show up.
Well, it was
And
a
you
good
got-
thing that
you got
it was towards the end of my trip. So like in Berlin, I mean, I went to Primark. They had Primark there, and the stuff was
Piss cheap.
was super cheap. So I got like a couple shirts, like a jacket, and jeans, and like these boots for like 80 euros. So I just ended up using the same clothes for the next day or two, and then went to Norway and pretty much wore the same clothes there. I actually went shopping in Norway too, because we were going out one night and I needed a nice button up.
Of course.
So
Dapper Dan. So what was Norway like then? Because this is the end of your trip. Is Norway?
yep, Norway was cool. I didn't know what to expect. There's a lot of nature, and a lot of mountainous areas, a lot of like beautiful parks up in the northern part of Norway. I was in Oslo, which is the capital. It was very cool, similar to Germany style. Everything is very like structured, yeah, really well. They have a great economy, you know. So just like Germany as well, you don't have to pay for the tickets to get into the bus.
So I didn't pay for shit.
But I paid for every one of them that time because I was just scared that someone would check. Even when my friend who I was staying with told me not to and that you can just walk in, I was like, nah. I was like, I'm
Not rolling the dice.
Yeah, not anymore. It's not worth, you know, if you're gonna pay €4 for a bus ticket or whatever it is. It's
And
not
that
worth
turns
paying
out to be
80.
that's
So it was
fool me
good.
once.
It was good. I mean, saw the sights there. Hung out with her, a couple of her friends.
What'd you do in Norway though? Like as far as like you said, seeing sights. What was there for you?
It was just like saw like the Parliament building. There was this huge park that was really, really cool. It had these bronze statues just going on each side of like this like bridge that the artist who did them was depicting different things that you deal with in life every day. So like there was the most famous one is like where these kids are like all hanging on to him, and I'll show you a picture of it. And it looks like he's like kicking one of the kids, but like at the same time there's other ones where like there's, you know, a couple hugging each other, and it's a bunch of different emotions, like different
all the way
statues,
down, yeah.
throughout.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. The park was beautiful in itself.
You have that on your page?
I think I do. Yeah, I think I do. It's way in the beginning of it though. Let me check here for those pictures. But all in all, Norway was a cool experience. Like I said, we went to go see like this museum with like a Viking ship and stuff, but I didn't know much about the country, so I didn't do a lot of research as well.
And how long were you there for? Just a few days?
Yeah, I think it was just 3 days. And then I came back to London for...
The flight home?
Yeah, I stayed in London for a day, and I stayed close to the airport, so I stayed in, like, West London. And just hung out for a day, got some food, and really relaxed, you know, after going on every trip. It was nice to just sit down and get some sleep and really relax.
So that was 2014, 2015.
Look at this is the
And then recently, wow, that's fucking nuts. Yeah, we're gonna have to post that. And then 2017, 2016, you did what? Southeast Asia.
Yeah, so that was my big trip then. And then my other big trip was 2016 Southeast Asia.
Which was planned months in advance.
Yeah, and Thailand has been on top of my list for a long, long time. And I really wanted to go. And my sister had graduated college, so she was done, and we were like, let's do a trip together. So it was based. At first, it was planned for me and her to go on a trip, and then our friends got involved as well. And my cousin in Brazil, Lucas, also came from Brazil and joined us on that trip as well. Me and my sister stayed the longest. We decided to take advantage of the time and of the circumstances that we were in, where we didn't have too many responsibilities. We didn't have, I work for my father, so I was able to get some time off. He spent a lot of time in Brazil, so when he came back, I took some time off, and we spent a total of, I think, 8 weeks.
Was it that long?
Or 7 weeks. It was about a month and a half traveling, because we were just going to do Southeast Asia, and we ended up going to Australia as well. So it was an amazing experience.
We're gonna have to go to the play-by-play for the Southeast Asia then.
Yeah. So
one thing at a time. I mean, because you planned the shit for like you and your sister, and then like a shit ton of friends came. So there was just like a lot of everybody has to be here at this time, or you're pretty much fucking fucked.
Yeah,
you're
so
left behind. So you can walk us through like literally the process of booking everything for pretty much everybody, because you're like the itinerary man. You're the one that did all the research. You're the one who did all the shopping for the shit. So
yeah. So we were able to get four more friends to come with us. Our boy Rodney decided to come on the trip.
Rod Snow.
Shout out to Rod Snow.
Moet forever.
And our friend Brenna, Sam, and Brenna's friend Vicky, who ended up becoming our friend as well, and my cousin Lucas, who was coming from Brazil. So my cousin Lucas decided to come on the trip kind of after we had already started planning everything. We told him the dates that we had bought the flight, and he bought a separate flight from Brazil and met us there. But on this trip, what me and my sister did is we booked our flight. Same thing, we booked our round trip, but it was for about like a 6-week period. So we were like, okay, we're going to do a couple of different countries. And I did a lot of research, read so many blogs, I follow this guy, his name on Instagram is Lost LeBlanc, and he, he's kind of a Southeast Asia expert. He's been to so many countries, watched a lot of his videos of where to go, where to stay, read up on nomadicmat.com, who's this guy Matt from Boston, who has been traveling for the last like 10-15 years, knows everything there is about traveling, couch surfing. Guy has done it all and has one of the most popular blogs out there, travel blogs out there. So any kind of travel information, you can go to this guy. He's been almost everywhere in the world. So I got a lot of information from those two to try to pick places of where to go and where to stay. First off was just we're going to Thailand. We're flying into Bangkok, but then from there, what are we doing next? And that was all choices. We booked stuff.
Getting fucked up, man.
we booked stuff on the go, and I kind of went.
Are we talking like activities? Or are we talking like
everything.
Flights, transportation?
I knew there was two things. There was two things that we all really wanted to do. We wanted to go to the full moon party in Koh Phangan, which is an island in the south of Thailand. And we wanted to go to see other islands as well, like Koh Phi Phi and Koh Tao and stuff like that. So we knew we wanted to go to the islands. We knew we wanted to go to the full moon party. So we kind of booked our flights based on that. And it's like, all right, and our friends, Brenna, Sam, Rodney, they were only there for 2 weeks. Rodney stayed for an extra week, and Vicky, they only stayed for 2 weeks. So we said in that 2 weeks, let's try to plan everything out so we know where we're going. So we at least booked flights, and found out transportation. Actually, the transportation was figured out later, but we booked flights because we wanted to spend time in Chiang Mai, which is a city up north of Bangkok, to spend time with the elephants as well, which is something that we all wanted to do. But what ended up happening was when we flew into Bangkok at the airport, everything was new to us. We didn't know if we were gonna take a taxi to the hotel that we were staying at, or we were gonna just try to get a van to get the whole group together, because there was 7 of us. It was me, my sister, Rodney, Vicky, Brennan, Sam. Yeah, so 7 of us. So we decided to book this van, and then when I came up to book the van, they're like, "Oh, do you guys want to do a tour tomorrow as well? Like, this included." And we did out the math with the transportation to the hotel, and that it was gonna be pretty inexpensive. It was gonna be total maybe like $40 for everything.
That's fucking cheap for everything included.
Yeah, for each person. So we were like, okay, like, we don't have to like struggle to like look for anything else. Like, let's just book this now, and we'll figure it out then. So we booked our tour that we were gonna go to 3 or 4 different places. We were gonna do like a little river tour. That was for the next day, and we got our ride to the hotel. So with that company that we went through after the tour, it's common for them to bring you to places like these jewelry stores where they try to sell you stuff, because they're all partnered with like these different kind of businesses, and like these tuxedo businesses, because a lot of people buy tuxedos in
because they're cheap.
Yeah, the custom, especially,
and they custom
ones.
fit. Yeah.
And they're relatively cheap. You can get some for like $100, $120, as opposed to $500 here. Our boy Rodney actually got a custom
That
suit
suit is
blazer.
fucking fly though.
Yeah. So we ended up doing that as well, and it gets awkward because they're all, it's like 10
it's barter
Thai
central.
guys
You gotta-
try to like, say, oh, can we offer you something? Can we offer you something? You sure you guys don't want to look at this? Don't want to look at that? And the only person who did was Rodney. He wanted to get into it.
He wanted that cheap suit.
Yeah.
The cheap suit. Cheap suit.
No one else.
Oh my god.
No one else wanted to buy anything else. So
I fucking love that blazer, dude. It's like candy apple red, man. It's fucking beautiful.
So the last thing we did was stop at the company who took us on the tours, and they're like, "Well, what else are you guys planning on doing?" So I just took the lead since I had booked everything. I told them, I was like, "Well, we're going to Koh Phi Phi." I was like, "We're flying there, in 2 days."
Stop tapping.
And we're going from there. We're going to Koh Phangan to the full moon party. And he's like, "Okay, well, you're gonna need transportation from there." And I was like, I can do all that for you. I was like, I can have a guy waiting for you at the airport to take you to the port. I was like, I can get your port tickets, like your ferry tickets to the island, and then a bus to the other side to go to Koh Phangan and get your ferry tickets to that. I can get all that set up, and we'll do a special price for you guys. I was like, okay.
That almost sounds like too fucking good to be true.
Yeah.
Bro.
So instead of us flying there and try to figure everything out, like, we had it all like booked,
mapped for you.
yeah. And that guy, and I saved all the information there, because I think if I'd ever go back, I'd try to do the same thing. Because
Do you remember what the company's called?
No,
Or is it specifically just for local stuff?
Yeah, it was just some Thai company.
Okay.
I can't remember it. I think I have it written down somewhere. But it was really nice, because then we took our flight from Bangkok to Krabi, which is down south of Thailand. And we get there, and there's a guy in a sign saying "Travel with Bruno," waiting for us.
That's dope.
Yeah,
That's
so
the plug right there.
Yeah, so it was cool. So we had everyone get in the van, and we got our transportation straight to the ferry, and then we got to the ferry and went to Koh Phi Phi, which is a very famous island, mostly known for the beach. Leo, your boy Leo.
Oh, the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maya Bay was where the beach was filmed, and it's actually closed down right now for restoration.
And that came out in like 2001.
Yeah,
2000.
because there's too many tourists and stuff, so they want to preserve it, so it's closed.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's closed for like 6 months.
For the season, or just like in general?
Yeah, for like 6 months, so they can make sure clean it. Like, not a lot of tourists go there because it was starting to ruin like the environment and stuff.
No shit.
Yep. So we spent that time in Koh Phi Phi, and then left Koh Phi Phi. We were on the way to go to the full moon party, and all the buses. I mean, there was people that didn't have transportation, and I don't think if we didn't book it, we would have probably been stuck in the middle of the road, not knowing what the hell to do. So I mean, sometimes it's good to go with the flow, sometimes it's not, and that was a time where it was good that we had the opportunity to book these things in advance, and it worked out in our favor. So everything was set for us.
Especially because you paid for the full moon party in advance too, right?
No. We had the place to stay at the full moon party.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we just needed to figure out how to get there.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus.
From Krabi, which is like a 3-hour drive, and it's like
hitchhiking, especially with 7 of you, like 3 hours. No, that's
yeah,
impossible.
And it's like most of the buses were already full because people had already bought tickets to them. So
sometimes things just fall into place, man.
Yeah. So it worked out, and then we ended up leaving there, and we stayed. We did the full moon party, which was amazing. 10,000 people on a beach.
For those of you who don't know what the full moon party is, just fucking Google it, all right, or YouTube it, and you'll see insanity at its finest.
Yeah, it's so it goes on in this one island is there's not much that goes on there, but it's known just for this party that goes on.
I actually think our boy Rodney is in a highlight video for it, jumping fucking fire rope. If I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah,
it's on somewhere. It's on some blog site, but we'll have to try to find it.
That's right. Yeah. So much stuff goes on. The island is, like I said, there's not many people there up until like 2 days before the full moon, and then everyone starts coming into the island, and it just fills up with like I don't know if it's actually 10,000 people, but I think it's around like 5,000 people, and there's DJs. It's the whole strip of the beach. There's DJs in every booth, and the island is beautiful. You can go to take a boat to another side of the island. And, it's like resort style beaches, beautiful beaches, beautiful white sand beaches. But if you're staying at that beach where we stayed at, where the party was, I mean, we stayed right on the beach. Our hotel had in front of it had a deck where the DJ was playing, and
that's fucking insane.
It was an amazing experience just to be there. A lot of alcohol. There's people doing mushroom shakes, so they do shroom shakes everywhere.
Fuck that.
And they do these things called buckets, and they offer...
Bucket!
They just go around screaming, buckets, buckets, and where they just mix a bunch of different alcohols together and make this crazy little, like... It's like a pail bucket, like where, like, when you're a kid and you make little sandcastles, except it's filled with alcohol. And
it's like fucking jungle juice in a bucket.
Yeah. And you take 2 of those things and you're done. And so it was a good time. Woke up, everyone was hungover. There was at least...
Kids were dead on the beach.
15, 20 people. There's people who die almost every single year on that beach, from most of the time just from drowning.
Or drowning, alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
Baking in the sun, not waking up.
But there was... and it's so funny how the Thai people just are used to seeing people... There was a kid sprawled out on one of the hotel... 2 chairs, and meanwhile they're setting up for breakfast, and they just don't even say anything. They don't wake up the kid, and then he just wakes up and just goes on and does his thing. They're just so used to seeing it. It's funny.
That's fucking nuts.
It was, and it was awesome just to be there and
what about
everything.
The is it the monkey temple that you went to too?
Yeah, so that was in Bali. That was at
yeah.
That's another country, but we went from there. We stayed in Koh Tao. We stayed in an Airbnb villa where we had our own private pool, the 7 of us, which is really cool. We got to rent little motorbikes and ride around the island, go to different beaches and stuff. Very cool experience. And then from there, we took a flight to Chiang Mai. And Chiang Mai is where we went to the elephant sanctuary.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know this, but riding the elephants is very bad for the animals, and they get very badly mistreated. So we went to an elephant sanctuary where we feed them, we bathe them, and all the money goes towards taking care of the beautiful animals. So it was really cool. We never knew that. Our friend Rodney came into the trip wanting to ride an elephant, but then once we found out, how bad it was for them, we decided to just do the sanctuary instead. And you still see a lot of people riding them, and it's really sad to see how bad it takes a toll on them.
Until they fucking snap and just throw you across the room or stomp you out.
Yeah, the thing is, they're ever since young, they're super scared because they're so mistreated that they grow up knowing that they have to do this service. If not, they're gonna, get
beat,
injured,
yeah.
get beat or whatever it is, which is sad.
It's fucked. And that's Chiang Mai.
Chiang Mai, yeah, great experience in Chiang Mai. We also rented motorbikes and riding around in the city. It was like 4 of us.
Got lost in the city.
Yeah, Rodney got lost at one point, and we ended up finding each other.
Somehow made it home.
And that's, I mean, you can't stress enough. Like when you get lost, it's always
Fight or flight.
Yeah, it's always
Fight or
fun
flight.
because you end up finding yourself, and you just you think like, wow, like I could have been in a really shitty situation, but I ended up finding myself, and you just laugh about it.
And then when you see your best friend coming down on a moped, you're like, holy shit, this is the grace of God.
So that was just an instance where Rodney thought he was next to me the entire time. And
turns out he was following somebody else for like 5 miles. Had to turn back around.
And I couldn't find him afterwards either. So we were riding around aimlessly at like 3 a.m. in Chiang Mai looking for this kid, and nowhere to be found.
I guarantee he was terrified.
He definitely was. But when he came in the hostel later that night, it was just a huge sign of relief for him. So it was fun.
And what was after the elephant sanctuary?
So after that, Sam, Brenna, and Vicky, and Vicky's cousin actually joined us as well mid-trip. They all left back to Bangkok because they had their flight home. Yeah. And we went on to go to Cambodia after that, straight from Chiang Mai to Cambodia.
Did Ronnie go with you too?
Yeah, so
he didn't go to Bali then?
He went to Bali for, I think, 3 days.
Yeah.
2 or 3 days, yeah. And then he took a flight home from Bali. His flight back sucked. He went from Bali to I can't remember if it was like the capital of Indonesia, and then a flight back to Bangkok, and then a flight back to Doha, which was our stop.
Fuck that, dude.
And then the flight home, yeah.
I would have paid extra for the fucking one-way flight home, honestly.
His itinerary sucked.
Or 2 stops.
He wasn't gonna go to Bali, and then he decided to go last minute. He was just gonna go back to Bangkok and spend 2 days by himself, but he said fuck it.
No, you don't want to stay by yourself in the city
for
2 days. It's not worth it.
So,
what'd you do in Cambodia?
Dude, we're gonna go on forever.
This is what it's about, bro.
What did I do in Cambodia? We visited the biggest religious temple in the world.
It's called Temple Run. That's where the app was built off of.
Basically, that's exactly what it looked like. It was really, really, really cool. Actually, parts of Tomb Raider were filmed at the temple. It's called Angkor Wat. Look it up. A lot of people go to Cambodia just to visit it. And we just wanted to go and see it, and we were close by, and we knew Cambodia was relatively cheap, but we took the time in Cambodia. We stayed in a nice hostel. I mean, nicer than most of the ones we stayed at, with the pool and stuff. So we were able to hang out by the pool, relax, sleep, and we went to Angkor Wat at like 5 a.m. And Cambodia is a very, very, very poor country. So most of the money they make is through tourism. So, it's the guy who picked us up. Our hostel had a guy pick us up from the airport in this little motorbike, and it was 4 of us. And I'm telling you, this bike was like maybe like a 100-cylinder bike, super slow, and they have like the carriage like behind them. So like, you know, like how you see like mules like carrying around like a big carriage like of people. This was this guy in his little motorbike.
Speed limit 10 miles an hour.
It was so slow, but his name was Hoy, but he was the nicest guy ever. He barely spoke any English, and he just took us to the hostel, and then he was the one that was gonna take us to Angkor Wat, and we felt bad because we wanted someone faster, and someone like, but he was just super nice, and so we decided to just take on the trip with him. And
was he like your main driver for the rest of the trip, or
Yep.
no? Was he really?
Yeah, so
You just hired him?
Basically, like whoever picks you up at the airport, you're pretty much stuck with them. Because they make you feel bad enough. They'll be like, you going to Angkor Wat? And you're like, yeah. Like, okay, I pick you up tomorrow, 5 a.m. I'd be here, okay? Because
I mean, that's dope too. At the same time,
yeah, everyone wants to see the sunset at Angkor Wat. We didn't end up getting to see it because it was super cloudy, but it was a cool experience. The temple was huge, huge, huge. So much ancient history there, and it's, like I said, it's the largest religious temple in the world. It's the main temple itself is massive, but then there's other temples to the side of it too, and we got to see some monkeys there as well, it was the first time we did see monkeys, and like monkeys on the temple. It literally looked like Temple Run. It was very cool.
monkeys come up to you, take your shit, walk away.
They
Can't do
do.
anything about it because there's like 50 of them.
Yeah, the monkeys suck. They're cute until they come and grab your
till
water
they-
bottles
till they steal your shit.
and your jewelry and all that.
So after Temple Run, when did you go to? Was it Bali and then Australia?
Bali and then the Philippines.
Jesus, dog, how many? You're losing track here. We're fucking all over the place.
I told you it's a lot of
Holy
countries.
shit, there's so many.
Yeah, I gotta cut it short, but I mean, there's a lot of stories that go into it. So we spent 3 days in Cambodia, and then we flew into Bali, where we wanted to spend at least a week. And we spent, I think, 8 days there. So we were booking everything on the go at this point. Flights were relatively cheap, less than $100 one way.
Really?
Most of the time, yep. Mostly through Air Asia. Pretty shitty airline, but
Got you from point A to point B.
yep. And so we went to Bali. Rodney stayed with us for 2 days. We stayed in Uluwatu, which is like this, like, it's down south of Bali in this like surfing area. Stayed in a hostel there, and then
At this point, it's pretty much you're just on the beach for the next 7 days.
Yeah, so
8 days.
we rented motorbikes as well. Got stopped by Bali police.
Really?
Yep, got stopped
Doing
by
what?
because they know when to stop tourists to shake money from us.
Did they get some?
Yeah, I mean, we told them we didn't speak any English. They wanted American tourists, obviously, because then they get more money for them. But we all told them we were foreign, Brazilian, and Rodney blended in, and we ended up giving them some money, but it was only the equivalent of like $20-$30, as opposed
That's so
they
fucked,
asked
dude.
us for like $200 in the beginning, like in Bali money. And the guy's like, oh, you guys are not, you don't have licenses, this and that, you don't have permits, and it was saying he loved Brazil, loved Ronaldinho, and all this stuff. And once we started kicking with him, he dropped the price down. And we gave him some money, and then he gave us this little like card that said, oh, if any other police stops you, like, you can just show them this and you'll be all set.
That's so fucked, dude.
Yep, and the guy at the hostel told us that it was common for this to happen.
Just
so.
pick you off, say fuck it. He's got money.
Yeah, and to add to that day, we went to visit this beach that was very secluded, and it was hard to get to. All on a dirt road, like rocky dirt road, not paved whatsoever. And I was with my sister.
The road less traveled.
and
You
we-
got to pay the price.
And we ended up falling on the motorbikes, and I got some nice scars from it. So,
Fucking A.
yep. That was interesting. Rodney and my cousin Lucas had to go to the nearest pharmacy and get a bunch of first aid shit for me.
Seriously?
Yeah, I got cut up pretty badly.
Dude, salt water.
Yeah, I went, and it killed.
He's got seals it right up.
I went the walk down, like, because we were up on like these cliffs, and we had to walk all the way down.
I love how your sister is unscathed, but you were just fucking slicing
She had
dice.
she had this little tiny thing on her finger. That's it.
That's hilarious.
And I still have scars from it, like all here, all around my shoulder, my legs was all cut up badly.
That's the road less traveled, man. That's why it's not paved.
Yep.
Got to pay the price.
But we got there, and we, like I said, had the beach to ourselves pretty much. There was no one there. But it was really beautiful. But from then on, for the next like 3 or 4 days, I had to really be careful with anything that I did because I was all fucked up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the end of Bali.
So that was the beginning of Bali, and then Rodney left.
Oh, you
and
got
then-
injured in like the beginning?
Yeah, the second day.
The second day? Fuck,
and then
that sucks.
And then Alexis came and met up with me.
For those of you who don't
in
know who
Bali.
Alexis is, Mr. Travel with Bruno is wifed up right now. So, sorry, ladies. Hello, Alexis, if you listen to this. And
Hey,
she
babe.
She came out and visited.
Yeah, she came out from Utah, and we met in Vegas. Had a long distance relationship kind of going, and
Oh, we're gonna do the backstory.
just quick backstory, and then spontaneously she decided to come out and meet up with me.
But what
during the
really
trip.
happened in Vegas
We won't go into details.
stays in Vegas.
Exactly.
So she came out to Bali.
Yep, and then she flew out from Utah all the way to Bali, and we met up in Bali, and then the day we met up, we ended up finding out in Bali that there's this day of silence.
Is that real?
Yes.
Like you can't talk.
Like you can't do anything. Like everything is closed in the island of Bali. It's like it's based on
Is
their
that
religious
A meditation thing?
and
A meditation practice or
I can't remember. I have to look into it and read it again. I had read into it when I was there. I don't remember it now, but it's something to do with their religion, where kind of they not even electricity they use. Like everything is turned off.
What about like running water?
For this 1 or 2 days? So what people end up doing, running water, yeah. But what people end up doing is they end up leaving to go to one of the islands outside of Bali. These small little islands. They're the Gili Islands. They're called Gili T, Gili Meno, and Gili P. Maybe there's 3 of them, and they're not as religious as the people are in the island, so they don't close down those little islands. And we ended up finding out last minute, and I was like, holy shit, like we need to get the hell out of here, or we're just gonna waste the day not doing anything. So I ended up booking it through this online thing, and the guy was late, almost like 2 hours late picking us up. This is the first day Alexis was there, so it was like, oh my god, like this guy's not coming, we're gonna end up getting stuck here. So take us to the bus. We went to the port, and it was just a mess. There were so many people there, tickets being handed out.
That's because they want to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, everyone's trying to leave, everyone's trying to go, and like people trying to buy tickets like right there and then. And we got on the boat. There was no room inside of the boat. We had to stay outside of the boat.
We had to sit on a light
And
raft and get dragged behind.
And we got soaked. We got soaked up on top of the boat from the water, from the waves and stuff.
Was it a good day at least? Or was it like a shitty day?
It was cloudy, but when we got to the island, it became sunny and stuff.
Honestly,
and we actually,
if it's raining and it's cold outside, fuck that.
yeah, getting there sucked. We all ended up soaked, but we got on the boat. That's all we cared about. And then once we got there, we picked out a place last minute on Expedia, and it was this really, really, really nice villa that we paid, I think it was $25 each a night, so it was like $100 total for everyone. And we had our own separate rooms. And
That's fucking cheap.
So it was 2 rooms, and it was so we had a whole entire villa to ourselves, with our own private pool, like fresh coconuts. We had breakfast served to us every single morning, and it was like
$25, bro.
$25 each a day. Yeah,
That's fucking so cheap.
yeah,
man.
it was amazing, and like it was last minute too, because everything else was booked up, and we were like, all right, let's just do this villa, and it turned out to be great. We got service from these really, really nice Balinese people. They treated us really, really well, and like I said, own private pool, had TVs, couches, like dining tables, everything. Rooms with AC. It was beautiful. It was really,
Say
really
no
nice.
more. You had me at rooms with AC, bro.
Yep. And so we stayed there for 2 days, 2 full days, and then we left on the 3rd day. No cars in the island as well. If you're getting anywhere, you're
gotta
either
walk.
walking, biking, or if you have a lot of bags with you, they have horses.
I'm taking
like
the horse.
carriages.
I'm
And
taking the horse.
it's funny, the day we left, the horse carriages, one of them,
Shit all over a customer.
no, one of them like got spooked and started bolting it down the main street, dude. And you just hear this Balinese guy, move away, and you see, and dude, I moved away right at the moment the horse was flying with the carriage, just non-stop, booking it down the main street. I guarantee he took out at least 1 or 2 people who weren't paying attention. But
Was
I
the
don't-
fucking carriage still attached to the horse at
yeah,
that point?
yeah, And the guy was just chasing after it. It was
Good luck, bro.
Yeah, it was insane.
Jesus Christ.
You can pretty much walk the island's very small. You can walk around the entire island pretty much, but I don't know. I wonder when the fuck that horse had stopped.
Think about that.
It was nuts.
That would suck.
So then, so we spent 2 days in that island. Went to Ubud, which is more on the inside of Bali, and that's where we went to the monkey temple. And like you get to see the rice field. It's like nowhere near the water. It's like forests and stuff.
Like jungle?
Yeah, like kind of like in the jungle.
Off the grid?
Yeah.
Like you how
Well,
how the fuck did you get there?
Well, like Ubud is pretty like traveled as well. I mean, it's
touristy.
It's a touristy destination as well. But it's not like you're going there for the beach. You're going there to
be with the surroundings.
It's like a small city. It has a lot to offer. You know, very hippie-ish. And it has the monkey temple, which is something that we wanted to do. But we stayed in another villa as well. Lady made us banana pancakes every morning, and it was all super cheap.
This is like first fucking class service, bro.
Yeah,
This is grade A.
Yeah. And if you think about it, if you actually spend, you know, a certain amount of money, you get treated like royalty, like no matter what. So, it was very cool. And my sister ended up getting sick there because she ate a salad in Bali, and you're not supposed to do that. So,
Because of the water and the fucking greens. You know how long it's been sitting there.
yeah.
Was it E. coli? Is that it?
I don't know exactly. It was just a stomach bug, and she didn't take the necessary shots she was supposed to take before leaving. And I did. I forget what the shot's called now. But she ended up having a salad. She ended up getting sick, and she ended up having to go to the hospital there, get IVs and all that shit. So
That's like
She
the worst.
missed-
That's the worst thing that can happen when you're traveling
Yep.
anywhere, is to get sick because it just fucks up everything. Your mindset, your mentality, your appetite, your sleep patterns. And then where are we now?
So
this is-
after Bali, we went to the Philippines for about a week as well. It was like 6 days total. Booked everything.
on the fly.
Yeah, on the fly. Like when we were in Ubud, I booked the flights and then booked places to stay. Went to the Philippines. Flew into Manila, and then to Puerto Princesa, which was the island that we stayed in. There's parts of the Philippines that were dangerous at that time, and we were suggested not to go. But where we went, it wasn't a
bad.
big deal. Yeah. And then we took a 5-hour van drive up to the north of the island, where we spent the next 5 days there in just beautiful paradise. But
5 hours.
yeah,
dude?
in the middle of the night, the guy was an insane driver. Insane. Swerving back. It was like a 12-passenger van or like a 10-passenger van, but it was nuts.
He only had 5, so he had to make up the time and
Oh
fucking
my-
get you there.
Oh my gosh, just the road going there, there's just so many swerves back and forth, and like you tried sleeping, but like you were fearful for your life. So,
Or you were just insanely car sick and couldn't fucking hold anything down.
yeah, it was that was an experience to say the least. But we got there, stayed in El Nido, which is one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been. Still,
Where's that?
that's in the
El Nido,
Philippines.
the Philippines.
Yeah, it's in the island of Puerto Princesa, up north. So it's a 5-hour drive up north. You have to fly into Puerto Princesa and then take a bus or like a little van up north. And we decided, because we were traveling so much to get there, we might as well just stay here for a
Few
little
days,
while, just
yeah.
relax. So that's what we did, and then Lucas left from there, back to Brazil, and we stayed there for I think another 2 days after he did a couple tours, like boat tours and stuff. Just really enjoyed the beach though, and got some tan and ate some good food.
And what was like, when did you decide to go to Australia? Because everybody left at this point. Now it's you and your sister, right?
No, and Alexis was still there. And then, so after the Philippines, we went, our flight stopped in Malaysia. in Kuala Lumpur, and so we stayed a day. We decided to just stay a day in Malaysia as well. And we were like, F it,
Just to
let's
chill, like
yeah.
just hang out.
And they so there's these called the Petronas Towers.
They're like chrome or whatever. Or
It's these two twin towers that work before the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. They were the largest buildings in the world.
I think you have a picture of that on your page.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
yeah. So we were like, let's just go to Malaysia for a day, check it out. And so we flew in, took an Uber into the city, like got this hotel and spent the night there, and then spent pretty much the entire day there. And then we left, I think, that night back to Bali. And then because Alexis had to leave, she stayed for 2 weeks. So she, we stayed in Malaysia just for a little bit, checked it out, checked the main places out. It's actually a really, it's pretty wealthy compared to other places in Southeast Asia.
What was it inexpensive to go? Like, was it relatively cheap?
Yeah, it was still inexpensive. I mean, like comparing it to Europe and stuff, it was cheaper than Europe.
Two total different markets.
Yeah. So, but it was more expensive than other places like Thailand and Bali and stuff, but in the Philippines. But it was cool to just go and experience it, see different sites. And then we went back to Bali and we booked our flights to Australia, and then Alexis left. We stayed 1 day in Bali. We kind of saw a different area of Bali that we hadn't seen yet. The huge touristy Bali where all like Hard Rock cafes and
where you see every American.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just like people doing surf lessons and stuff, and like just all the industrialized areas of Bali. Like that's where we stayed for that 1 day because we wanted to stay near the airport. So we stayed there for 1 day, and then we left for Australia the next day to Sydney, where we spent the last I think we did 10 or 12 days in Australia before going back to Bangkok.
No shit.
Yep. And in Australia, we flew into Sydney. And we had my sister had a friend who was studying abroad in Sydney, so we hung out with her for a bit, saw some different sites, and I had met Australians who I had met in Croatia who were living in Sydney at the time, and I hit them up, but it was just bad timing, and they were on certain vacations and stuff, so I wasn't able to meet up with them. But
did you have a Vegemite sandwich while you were there?
No, but my friend Cam, shout out to Cam, he wanted to try Vegemite so
I will
bad.
say that Vegemite is probably the most foul smelling fucking food.
It's gross.
Paste, jam, whatever the fuck it is.
If you don't know what it is, it's like a yeast extract.
It's a yeast infection on a sandwich.
And they put it on like their breads and stuff, kind of like a Nutella spread.
Like a jam. But it's fucking putrid.
I did try it. I tried it. I don't know if it was at our hostel that we stayed at because they had breakfast, and I just wanted to try it. And I tried a piece with a toast, and it was gross. It was so gross.
It's not meant for everybody.
I still bought a little thing for my my friend Cam because he always wanted to try it.
Has he eaten it yet?
Yeah, him and his dad both ate it, and he like
immediately regretted it.
Yeah, right away.
Of course.
It was funny. He sent me a video of it. So the Vegemite experience did happen. We went to Manly Beach as well, which is like a little island off of Sydney. Saw the Opera House. Saw, the famous things in Australia. I got a haircut there because I didn't trust anyone else in Southeast Asia to cut my hair.
Oh my God.
So I went to a proper barber. But the thing that really was a shock was just how expensive everything was, in comparison to Southeast Asia. It was like, holy shit, we're coming from a place where we're spending $2-3 on a meal and going into
and living in fucking villas with pools in your backyard for $20 a night. Now it's a whole different market.
Yep. And even the hostels were super expensive there.
Really?
Yeah, they were more expensive than staying in the villa.
No shit.
Yeah, they were like $38 like a night, or like 40 something bucks a night, and like that was for like big room. Like
meanwhile,
big
you could
hostel.
stay in a fucking villa for a week for $40. That's insane.
Yep. So yeah, did Sydney, went down to Melbourne as well. Went to a comedy. They had a huge comedy festival.
The Sydney Comedy
there.
Festival, right?
Yeah.
Or is it the Melbourne? Was it Sydney or Melbourne?
Yeah, it was like it was just a huge comedy festival that was going on at the time. We went to this different part of Melbourne as well. I'm trying to think of the name of the place. I can look it up right now. Oh yeah, we went to see the 12 Apostles in the Great Ocean Road.
Say it a little bit louder.
12 Apostles.
I was joking. You
Great
fucking blew out the
Ocean
mic.
Road. Boop,
Alright.
boop. Boop. And that was it's like right on the coastline. It was a tour that we wanted to do. Pretty expensive.
Is
pretty
that the
pricey, but
is that the place that had like the pool was in the backyard, but it was right off the ocean?
no,
Is
no,
that a different place?
no. Yeah, it's different.
Is it? Do you know what I'm talking about? You have a post on your thing that's like the beach is literally right here off your, wherever you were staying, and then like directly in the backyard it's like a pool, but like the ocean is like almost seems like it's gonna come into the backyard.
I don't remember it.
Oh,
Are you sure?
I'm positive. Positive. Get that. Jesus Christ! I gotta get rid of that.
No. So this was just to see the 12 Apostles, which are like these huge rock figures that are on the beach. Let's see here.
Oh yeah. I seen these photos.
Yeah. They're like huge cliffs.
It looks like the scene out of fucking Inception, when he goes down to the beach and like the back, like the city's like the backyard,
Yeah.
or the city's like crumbling into the beach.
Yeah, it was really cool. So we did that. We did the tour there on the Great Ocean Road, and that was one of the things that I wanted to do while down in Melbourne. So the tour was pretty expensive, but it was definitely worth it. And then from there we went on to up north to Cairns, which is where we went to the Great Barrier Reef.
Did you go snorkeling or
Yeah.
jet skiing, scuba diving?
Yeah, we did scuba diving. Something that everyone does there when they go there. We didn't have the greatest weather when we went. The hostel we stayed in was a bunch of young kids. A lot of Americans, a lot of Australian kids. And the thing to do in Australia as well, if you study abroad there, if you just go there to work or spend some time there, a lot of people buy, these little buses where you drive around pretty much all of Australia or up and down the coast and stop and camp out. And it's very common for people to do there. So when we were just walking around Cairns and stuff, we saw plenty of those buses around, people who just stop, whether it's for the night or for the day or for the week, and camp out. But so Cairns is where a lot of people go to go to the Great Barrier Reef. So we decided to do it. It was a cool, very, very cool experience. Scuba diving, can be very difficult, especially for people who have never done it before. Just going down and having that huge heavy tank on your back and learning how to breathe and do all that stuff.
Did you want to do the Shark Tank thing, where you're trapped in a cage?
No.
And you want.
Well, I mean, I would, but it's super expensive, and I don't think it's worth it. And those things you only do anyways. It's like they're more common in like South Africa and places with colder water. The water here was warm. It was relatively warm, but it was really cool. Just the thing that really sucks about the Great Barrier Reef is that almost like 80% of all the coral is like dead already, just because of whether it's boats coming in there or people ruining them themselves. You're not supposed to touch any of the coral because that's how they die. But getting to the barrier reef that we went to, was the worst, just because the waves were so choppy. We had maybe 30 people on the boat, and I say 20 of them got sick and had puke bags. I had to close my eyes and really concentrate and try not to get sick, because that's how bad the boat was moving on the way there.
Jesus.
Yeah. And the cool thing about Cairns is that there's 2 World Heritage Sites when you go there. One's the Great Barrier Reef, and the other one is the jungle there. And it's one of the only places on Earth where a rainforest and the ocean meet, which is really cool. That was more up north. I didn't get a chance to see that, but we did go to this cool rainforest and called Karanda, which was really cool.
That's where the koala is.
Yeah.
That what you took a picture with the koala?
That's where we went to like the koala gardens and stuff, and got to take a picture of the koalas, see the alligators, the kangaroos and stuff, which was really cool. Got to feed the kangaroos. It's
Yeah,
cool.
those are the koala picture with your sister is probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's cool.
The guy's the man. Just looking at the camera, he knows.
Yeah.
And you were in Australia for how long? Just a week, 2 weeks?
No, it was. I think it was either 10 or 11 days, and then we decided that we didn't want to rush our way back, back home.
Mm-hmm.
So we came back 2 days before our flight was to leave Bangkok. So we flew in, had that entire day, and then had another day after that.
Just to unwind and
And just kind of like relax. So we got a nice hotel with the pool and stuff. Still inexpensive, but had a pool and stuff. So we relaxed a lot. We actually did one more tour that we wanted to do before we left. And we ended up getting the tattoos that we wanted to get as well. Before we left, we went to like a well-known tattoo parlor in Bangkok. And then that was the end of the trip. And then the sad ride home. I mean, it was nice to come home, but once you're home for a week, you're ready to go out again.
And do you want to pull into the? Do you want to go into the? Was it Sweden or Switzerland?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've done trips here and there, smaller trips in between, but I recently went back to Switzerland, to Europe with my girlfriend Alexis. Me and her did a trip for about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks. I went back to Madrid for the first time since studying abroad, which is awesome. And just getting to experience that with her and showing her around, showing her the places that, I went, like the nightlife and everything that I experienced while I was there, was really, really cool. And also being able to see it, to watch Real Madrid play as well was a great experience. I mean, for me, I had already done it, but, she's always wanted to go to a game, so it was cool to show her around and do that. And then we also went to Budapest in Hungary, which is I think very underrated city. Not a lot of people, tend to know about it unless you have traveled or you're a traveler like me. You know that Budapest is a place that, you should go to. But it was one of the most unique places that I went to. Eastern Europe. I've been wanting to go to Eastern Europe for a while, and it was not only it was relatively cheap to go. The food was good. There was tons of things to do. The ruin bars there, they take these dilapidated buildings and they made these things called ruin bars that just have so much stuff going on with
I was gonna say, is that the place where you sent me like a video and there's like a disco room and there's like a reggae room?
Yeah,
and, like, it's like a huge fucking building,
and
with,
it's like mazes, and you go into one room and there's basements and there's
and
like
what's it
chill
called?
areas. They're called ruin bars.
Ruin bars.
Yeah, the ruin bar, and there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of different ones, but they're like
The one that you were in was fucking trippy as shit.
yeah. There's
dude.
a couple of the
Every room was different, which
yeah,
was insane.
and they just have things hanging off the walls, like. They're so trippy. If you're doing drugs and you're going into one of those things,
You're in heaven.
Yeah,
or you're in fucking hell.
Yeah.
One of the two.
yeah.
Depends how bad or good your trip is going.
So we got to enjoy those. We did a free walking tour as well, which was very informative. A lot of things I didn't know about Hungary and Budapest. Budapest was actually two different cities. It was Buda and then Pest.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and then they ended up joining them together. And they're also split between a river. They also are very famous for their bathhouses, where people go. It's kind of like a sauna type area where like they have these like hot springs and hot baths that run throughout the city.
Are we talking like a fucking community pool or like a river
Similar,
spring?
yeah.
Or like it's like an actual spring?
Yeah, but like it's all enclosed, so it's kind of like a. Let's say it's kind of like a YMCA, like version of these things, but it goes back to like the Roman times, where in like the Roman baths, where the Romans took over these cities and they created these baths, and now it's in their culture, and there's bathhouses everywhere, and it's these hot springs that people go in there. Like you see a lot of tourists in the one that we went to, because we went to the biggest one, but
and they come out with staph infection. It's great.
You actually can. I mean, it's
imagine the creatures that are in that shit, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's if you think about it that way, yeah. But it was like
I'm looking at it that way. You walk along the beach and you fucking point and stare, let alone a spring or a stagnant water.
It's not like that. It's. I'll show you a picture of it. They're really cool,
it's just
though.
funny to me.
So we did that, and then leaving Budapest. We were flying with TAP Portugal, and they were going through a crisis where people were on strike, and we ended up missing our flight. Or our flight was delayed, so we missed our flight back to Spain, so we had to stay a night in Portugal. But cool thing about it, we stayed in this little tiny city, like 2 hours away from Lisbon, and you just get that like old school European vibe, which is really cool.
I mean, these are minor mishaps though, compared to these are small things compared to what could have happened.
Yeah, it's
especially
sucked.
like considering all the places you've been to. You know?
And like I said, like these things happen every time. Like it's just things that happen while you're traveling, and
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see.
Yeah, that's.
Real quick, I wanna pull this up. I wanna post it.
Yeah, so he's just looking at a picture of the
thermal bath.
bathhouse. Yep.
Budapest, Hungary. That's so fucking dope, dude. It's like water country, but in the middle of the fucking plaza.
Yeah.
It's sick.
And then like inside there's like a bunch of like pools, and there's different saunas and stuff, and really cool. But where was I?
You arrived at Hungary. Oh, you went back to Portugal, missed your flight.
Oh yeah, so we missed a flight. And then airline again took care of everything, and actually I ended up writing and sending letters to them, and we ended up getting like a
free everything, free bottle service, presidential suite, a limo ride to the hotel.
No, it was not like that. We had to stay outside the city, which we were pissed about, because like we were like, oh, we're in Portugal, we can at least see the city for a bit, and that wasn't the case. But we did stay in a really nice hotel. We got maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep, but we got a really nice breakfast, and we went back into Lisbon after. Walked around the center of Lisbon for a bit, and we ended up complaining after, and me and Alexis both got $150 checks from TAP Portugal for the mishap, so it ended up working out perfect.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. And I mean, it goes to show you that sometimes you do have to go like an arm's length to try to get
for
your
dealing with the
complaints
shit,
in.
yeah,
for dealing with everything. And then the last stop was so we spent 2 days in Madrid, because we had to come back to Madrid to watch the Real Madrid game, and then we went to Switzerland, which was an amazing trip. I've always wanted to go. And we went to the city called Interlaken, which means between two lakes. So it's bordered between two huge lakes, and it's like this little valley.
You were like in the country though.
Yeah, it was like a little city, but I mean, if you
you're on the side of a mountain.
If you wander off to the side, or like away from like the center of the city, you just see farms and stuff, and I'm so happy that we ended up renting a bike, and we went to this small other town called Lauterbrunnen, which is known for like when the summers come in, all the snow starts melting from like the snow caps, and the waterfall, there's just like over 30 waterfalls in this area, and it's really, really beautiful. Beautiful scenery there, just so much nature, so much green, so much pastures, and we got to.
It's definitely a different take than being in the fucking heart of,
yeah,
Budapest or even fucking Bangkok, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, so like, a little expensive, but we ended up staying in a place where we ended up going to there was a supermarket nearby, so we ended up just getting food. And
Where'd you stay at this point in Switzerland? A hostel?
We found it on Hostel World, but it was a hotel, and we stayed up on the top floor of this hotel. Actually, I'm sorry. I think we booked an Airbnb. I can't remember which website it was, but we had our own room. We had a shared bathroom, but we never ran into any people there, so it was pretty much a private room that we had upstairs and had our own sink and stuff.
Was it like in a house, or was it?
Yeah, it was like it was like a big house, but it was turned into a hotel, and it was like very old school,
like country, like hardwood floors.
Yeah, just like very
a barn.
Yeah,
almost.
Well, like not like a barn, but it was just like very old school. Everything's wooden, like inside, like everything's like nice and vintage. You know, like old couches. Yeah, like it was really cool. It was cool to just get the full experience. And the bike ride to Lautenbrunnen, and then taking the cable car up to the mountain area where they have like a small village of like 100 people who live like up in the mountains. We got to try some really good Swiss cheese, and
we bought Swiss Army knives.
We got some Swiss chocolate and
Coco Swiss. Shout out Coco Swiss.
It was very, very cool to do that, and we ended up just taking the train back and putting our bikes in the train, and going back to the city, because it took us about. It wasn't that far. It was maybe about like 2 miles away, but on the bikes it took us longer because we obviously stopped, and we were on the middle. We were next to the mountain, and there was just small roadways.
Bike path.
Yeah. There wasn't even a bike path. You just ride.
Go at your own risk.
Yeah. So and that's what they said. Like, it's sketchy, but like you should go, and we did, and we saw some beautiful views, and it was definitely worth it.
So did you, at this point, do you prefer traveling with somebody, or do you like traveling alone? I mean, they both have their ups and downs.
Yeah, I think everyone at least once should experience traveling alone, because it gets them out of their element. If you're traveling with a friend, it's a different story. I never got the experience of traveling with just one other person.
I mean, your girlfriend, yeah, essentially.
Yeah, right. But I think it's different when you're with your girlfriend, and let's say you're with your friend, because you're with your girlfriend, you're comfortable, and you're doing stuff, and you meet people, but it's not the same as if you're with your one guy friend or one girlfriend or whatever the case is.
The whole game has changed.
Or even by yourself, because by yourself you're
allowed to do whatever you want.
Yeah, and you're putting
essentially.
Yeah, and that's the great. I can't stress that enough, is not being in schedule, in anyone else's schedules, doing whatever it is that you want to do. If someone doesn't like going to museums, like, you don't have to worry about that, because you're not, you don't have to base it off what
someone else's.
What they want to do. So, I mean, that's what I really liked about traveling alone. Is just I got to, if I wanted to spend a lot of time in this one area, I did, and then if I wanted to see something quickly in another area, I did that too, and it was just all on my time. And I think if people get a chance to, definitely try to travel alone for at least once.
We mentioned a few. You mentioned a few people who, like, I guess, were your inspiration, or how you did your research. So, what are some social accounts or things that were useful to you trying to do all this research for yourself?
So definitely this kid, his name's Christian LeBlanc. He has a YouTube and Instagram. His Instagram's Lost LeBlanc, and I started watching his stuff. It was after my Euro trip though, and that's started watching his videos. He had been to Thailand and Southeast Asia like 3 different times, spent a lot of time there, and really researched all his stuff. And then once looking up other travel blogs, I came across this guy, Nomadic Matt, who's from Boston. He said,
I love that fucking name.
Yeah, and he said one day he said he got up and he quit his 9 to 5. He had some money saved up, and he just went to Southeast Asia, I think was his first trip, and then he started blogging, just, writing everything down about what happened, about the places he went, and all the things that he did. And he wrote his own book. He has 1 or 2 books. There's like, one of them is like 50 different ways to save money, like, while traveling. where he gives you like different tips and stuff. So I actually bought that book, read a lot about it, or read it before I went on the Southeast Asia trip. And a lot of it is research. You got to do your own research. But at the same time, there's people who have done all this stuff and written videos on it, and have videos on YouTube, have blogs where you can just see how they experienced it, and you can go on and you see how you experience it yourself. You can always compare your experiences with them, but at the same time, there's sometimes things that you don't know about that they know about, and that's why it's good to always look up and research. It's like, oh yeah, Bangkok, crazy city, but you might not know about this certain restaurant or about this certain area of Bangkok that's really cool. And
Did you reach out to any of these people while you were doing it? Like, did they get back to you at all? Or anyone?
I didn't try to reach out to
No?
them because I had before, and it's really hard for them to reach back out. But just I did a lot of research myself, and just reading upon every single area that I went to, trying to familiarize myself, like, and make sure I'm going in there and going with the purpose, and seeing like what the best sites there is to do, and like you end up doing touristy things, but at the same time, if you really research, and you look at these guys' videos who have done other stuff that's off the beaten path, you want to try those things as well. And like I said, getting lost and doing all that stuff is part of the journey, which is it makes it 10 times better when you find yourself.
So let's talk about your brand, I guess. Right now, your Instagram, your Facebook. Do you have a YouTube page? I know you have YouTube videos. I know you have a video up on Facebook, but is it linked to YouTube?
I think I
Thailand
tried
trip?
uploading it to YouTube. I don't know if I did upload it. Yeah, I did a huge compilation on my Facebook that I put up. But I started a YouTube page. I haven't like put any content in it yet.
It takes time.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Let's talk about your brand. So you are trying to be a travel blogger, or like you're in the process of doing it. You have content up. You've been to all these countries, and now it's just trying to find the right people to follow you, and hopefully they buy into your story.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want. I have a lot of friends who come up to me and ask me for different tips and where to go and all this stuff, and that's cool. I think this market's very saturated, especially nowadays. There's so many people who are doing the same thing, and you really have to really dedicate yourself to
There's a difference between just going to a place, taking a photo, and then just posting it and getting whatever you can out of it versus actually producing content.
Yeah, especially most of these guys that I follow, like this guy Lasse LeBlanc, he carries his own backpack that's just full of cameras and lenses and this and that, and
that's what he does.
And then like
even what's his name?
Spend like
is it Gypsy Lust?
Yeah.
That guy.
Oh, travel?
Yeah. I think it's like they're partners, or they're together or something. Yeah. But their accounts are pretty dope.
Yeah.
But it's just the producing the content
of
that
course.
Is like
they think they're
appealing.
just traveling and getting paid, and that's what everyone thinks so. But they spend like 10 hours in front of the computer editing a video,
or even doing the research to go to these places.
Yeah. Of course.
I think, how long did it take you to research like your Thailand trip? It took like almost a year, right?
Well,
or 6 months?
Yeah, it took. I started maybe like in the summer before I went, and I went in like in March.
Yeah, that's like 7 months.
It took around like 6 months to plan everything out and getting everyone together, getting all the information together, booking everything, and just researching a lot. Like, so when you get there, you're not wasting time, and you're actually taking advantage of the time to see everything that you want to see.
That you possibly can in the time frame that you have. All right, so if you want to follow my boy Bruno, you can find him at Travel with Bruno, no spaces.
No
spaces.
Just Travel with Bruno.
This will link you to his Facebook. Do you have Twitter?
Yep.
You have Twitter, all that stuff?
Travel with Bruno as well.
At Travel Bruno, and you have your own, is it a website? Or just like a link?
No, it's just on my Instagram. There's a link to my video of
the Southeast Asia trip.
Yeah, of the Thailand trip. Yep.
All right.
So,
for any traveling tips, if you're going anywhere, hit my boy up. That's at Travel with Bruno.
Yeah,
Thanks.
send me a DM, send me a message, whatever you want to do. Tag me and stuff, whatever it is.
He's got a bunch of photos. He'll keep producing content. But yeah, feel free to reach out. He's available.
For sure. Hit me up.
Thanks for being here, buddy.
No problem.
It only took fucking 4 weeks. 3 hours later.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. This is Let's Talk Some Shit podcast, and we out.
Alrighty.